Dude, every week. Hope you guys like that intro as much as I do. Episode 227. I'm here with Ben, Expo Extraordinaire. Josh. Nick said he'll be a few minutes late. His moving company is hitting him up right now.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some of that. Nick made a big announcement for his life, really changing it up, moving. We'll let him talk about it, but you may or may not have seen it, but we'll let him talk about it. This show, the whole show, Staggered Stance. Everything we do every week, the social clips we put out. If you're not following us on social media, we put out a lot of clips from the interviews, things that we think you find interesting. Everything presented by Titan Disc Golf. Free shipping on $75 or more, exclusive stamps, over 35,000 disc selection. Besides that, cool people running the online store, but you know the people running the brick and mortar, you know, Matt Schlabach, big supporters. We are, of course, they are of us. Also, they've got, you know, Gavin Babcock on their team. I don't know if Gannon Burr officially, but man, they're always hanging out. So TitanDiscGolf.com. You probably saw Matt at the Supreme Flight Open at some level, right? I know Gannon wasn't really there on a lot of the coverage, but you still see him around social media hanging out with everybody, making steaks and all that. Shout out to TitanDiscGolf.com. Thank you so much for presenting this. Everyone go over there, use code Staggered Stance. Staggered Stance will get you a percentage off of everything, except for things that they can't get you a percentage off of due to manufacturer requirements. So speaking of manufacturers, Ben, you just finished up your second Expo Disc South.
Yes.
You're alive and well.
Yes.
And your next venture is getting married.
Yes. So
Adventure.
three events being planned within a 3-month period.
Yes. Which ones, I was going to say, like, there's like bigger life moments, but which ones are taking more to actually plan?
Definitely the expos,
All right.
because my fiance and her sister are more so planning the wedding size as it is, you know. Normally, you know, it's the girls that want, it's their big day, and I'm okay with whatever they decide with. It's my big day too, but
it's your big day. So what kind of touches would Ben Kenny have at his wedding that he's like, I put my fingerprint on that plan? Anything that you were like, this is mine, or I want it?
Instead of a first dance, I would just put a basket in the middle and do a ring of fire with all the guests.
Yes.
And
wait, is she down with that? She's down with that? We're doing it?
No, that's what I'm saying. But that's why I'm letting her plan. It's her magic moment, and
cool.
I also just don't have the brain capacity to plan a third event like that.
Yeah.
I know, but seriously, how? Just briefly, how was it? You had people show up. I saw on social media. People came in. People had a good time. Awesome.
No, yeah, it was actually incredible. It's what I needed. The momentum I needed to keep it going and keep coming to Texas. We had over 1,000 people the first day. So for a first year show, I mean, that's incredible. I think that we probably had around 1,000, maybe less, the first year of Disc East. So Texas showed up and showed out. We had some of the biggest manufacturers there, and we had the same amount of vendors at Disc South that we had Disc East. So there's a lot of wins there. Everyone was pretty happy, and for some reason, it was not stressful at all. I don't know why.
You already had done the dress rehearsal at Disc East.
Yeah, I guess exactly. It was just like, I was like, why? Like, why do I not feel like it wasn't hard? Yeah, it was. So that was also awesome too, and just all the amazing messages and compliments, and you know, it's why I do it, because you know, people care about it, and it means a lot to the community, and that's why I do it, because you know, it's a special thing. I don't know.
That'll do, my friends.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We also had a big event taking place on the Pro Tour. But before we get right to that, Josh is going to give us a little bit of a rundown on that. Tonight's show, we have lined up a phone call with Ezra Robinson. I'm not going to spoil why we're talking to him right this moment exactly, but it will be spoiled when we have a conversation with him. I'm about to spoil it. Yeah, but when we talk to him, it will spoil it for everybody. That's fair. Ezra Robinson, And then we have also Jake Monn. He was like a pop player, if you will, of the week. It's not quite true, but that's what I see him as this week, performing at a really high level. And then we also have the new president of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And I feel like this is another one of those moments we got to do this patriotic music when we bring in the president just to see what he does. Yeah. Dominic, is it Dominic DeFebo? I don't know. DeFebo.
Dominic DeFebo. He was at Disc East, so I got to talk to him. It was really cool.
Yeah. Wonderful. So that's what the lineup is for those chanting FPO. We had Ella Hansen in full conversation. She's a super awesome person. Congrats to her, of course. Well, again, spoiler, you have to understand why we're saying congrats. I'm not going to tell you in this moment. We will in about a minute. Ella Hansen will be on the show next week. She is at a basketball game. And I was like, we could do a phone call, but I don't think it would go over well. It just wouldn't be the same thing for her experience or ours. So we'll get her on next week. That's the update. We'll get to all that tonight. Josh, what happened at Supreme Flight Open? We're going to talk about it. You're not quite the Evan Kearns, but we're going to have conversation here at Staggered Stance. Oh, you are wearing Statman, though.
I mean, I know, we got the Titan Disc Golf hat, but, I feel like saying in memory would be wrong. So it's like a tribute to
tribute.
Evan,
it's 2 weeks in a row. Tribute.
Yeah, exactly. So just kind of recapping a few things. So, I mean, I was excited that we had our first event. It's finally here. And our show feels different. So hopefully we get a lot of people tuning in. Like, we're oriented around what happens on the pro scene. So having a pro event is what it's all about. In MPO, we had a field of 108. And Ezra Robinson, so Matt, you said no spoilers. Ezra Robinson just came home with his 48th career PDGA win, if you were curious. 48. But what really matters, at least to us, his first Elite Series win. In the context for him, I think people had him, literally, I heard, probably on our show and even other media, classifying him as one of the best players to not have a win yet on tour. And then he's not, like, check that off. Like, what do people say? Like, did you have that on your bingo card?
Next up, Aaron Gossage, I think. That's the next one. Yep. But yes, congratulations to Ezra, man. And you would look at him last year and say, dang, he's performing at a pretty high level. Then he changed up sponsors, and I think he just has full confidence riding into this season. And, man, before I get too carried away, there was a lot of similarities just from the fact they have the same last name, Robinson, and all that. They're brothers. A lot of similarities in how the playing style went down. Now, I'm not saying everything about form and everything, but take it, full confidence, execute at such a high level over, almost zero mistakes. It's so comparable.
Yeah.
Isaac
and him. I mean, for Ezra coming into that third round, obviously in a spot where he could attack AB playing incredibly hot. But yeah, Ezra there's something about when the best players are incredibly confident the way they play. Like, it's just another level. You can see it in the throws because AB wavered in that round. Paul Macbeth wavered in that round. Other players never really made a full-blown charge. And Ezra just locked it down. And it was a really great round, but honestly, in the end, he didn't officially run away with it. But listen to this. And this is where I'm not the full stat mando. So, everything with a small caveat or asterisk. Ezra shot it's unofficial until it's locked in, but a 1087 rated round. We don't talk a lot about ratings, but it's always a comparative evidence for us. Matt, that would be the highest Elite Series event ever if that rating holds.
The average.
For a round rating. His last round, 1087. No one else has thrown higher than that on the Elite Series.
In the last round?
Really? What?
For any round.
Hold on, that's not true. The highest round ever is 1132.
Not on the
What
pro
about
tour?
James Conrad 17 down?
Oh, you're talking not the highest rating ever, just on the pro tour. Ooh,
Elite Series.
Yeah,
on Elite Series.
Well, dang,
that's why I said I'm not stat mando. Can we put in a call?
This would be I could. This would be how the game. Remember, stat or fiction came down. Ben, it was because Evan said some crazy stat that wasn't right.
Stat Mando has something called all. We don't have to get too far.
Yeah.
All-time best round ratings MPO, and I think
we'll let it ride. Someone else wants to contradict it.
Yeah, no.
I feel like there's
something's
11
wrong.
somethings.
Yes, there's a lot of 1100s. So something is off about that stat.
Okay, good. I was like, this is where the game Stat or Fiction came from.
I gotta see.
I
where
will
was
tell everybody
actually
here on the
looking.
show, though. At least we're catching it before you leave.
Yeah.
You run
Well,
away.
and-
Staggered Stance
and-
said.
This is what happens when I'm also like pulling tons of stuff together because like as soon as you asked, I'm like that doesn't even make sense to me. Like
Josh,
I know there's higher. I'm just reading off
were,
of notes.
You were a listener for a long time, but that's how Stat or Fiction happened. Because even Evan, he's like, Matt, when you asked me, it doesn't sound right. Now I have to go check. So it happens when you get asked.
Well, congrats to him for throwing. Then let's just say this: that it was a course record, which, by the way, was under threat. I think AB set the course record on day one, and Ezra set a new course record on the third round, and which was under threat by like other players like Calvin, who then got a triple bogey and still threw an incredibly hot round. But either way, the point is we were talking about Ezra's confidence, and that jumped to ratings. See, ratings should not even be a topic. His confidence gave him a course record, really, really incredible. And hey, just as a side note, maybe not a big deal, but Ezra earned his USDGC qualifier at this event, along, by the way, with Simon and our other guest, Jake. They all earning USDGC qualifiers the first week out, which is great. So Ezra led the entire MPO field with C1 in reg. So we're talking about his ability to throw at 52%, which is pretty awesome. Let's just look at a couple other things in MPO. Guess who led the field in scrambles? They were on the lead card. Ben, any guess? They were on the lead card, so I'm not asking you to go down the leaderboard.
Lead card final round?
No, just lead card for all the whole event. Who scrambled the best?
We'll ask Nick Carl. What does Nick think?
Nick
Nick would
knows
say
this person.
The scramble
Wysocki.
king, Ricky Wysocki.
He's a good scrambler, but your best friend, Paul. Yeah. But honestly, had 11 scrambles and executed 10 of them. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit in a moment. I'll ask you all what to reflect on, like the way Paul's last round went down, which still finished strong, but boy, it started rough. But guess they were way down the leaderboard, so I realize this is tough, but I just think it's impressive. Guess who had the best putting tournament? Hint: they're one of the best putters on tour. Not winning the event.
Well, usually I'd say own.
Yeah, but this is MPO still.
Then usually I'd say Ricky.
Okay, 38 out of 39 putts, and it was Andrew Marweed. He only missed one, which is pretty awesome.
Andrew Marweed. Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Yeah. By the way, Simon was 32 for 33, so he just doesn't get the nod because he didn't have as many. So Simon was also putting hot. In circle 2, Anthony Brella. Listen to this: 10 out of 16. And he was locked in. I mean, we obviously saw how he struggled in the final round, but he didn't struggle with putting. Like, he was still canning everything. So really big deal. One other thing in MPO, just notable, is James Proctor DNF'd. Was it like after the first round or somewhere?
What do we know
Yeah,
about that, Nick? What do we know?
I think it's a knee issue.
Okay.
All I know, I think that's all it is.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong, but someone said they were bringing him a brace, and then I think he decided just not to play the second round. But
yeah.
I do not know the full story.
Right.
Of it.
But it's some type of injury or
I think it's some type
ailment.
of injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about FPO and then just ask you all to react to other things. I mean, and we're going to have to come back to it because Nick was obviously on the ground, so we want all of his insights from being there. Yep. But for
Later.
FPO, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. We'll have to come back to it because we also got some great interviews teeing up. For FPO, they had 56 holes because we went to a 2-hole playoff. So again, spoiler right up front, there is no such thing. Ella Hansen, which is why you mentioned her name. And listen to this. I caught some of the final round live, and then there were pockets where I had family obligations, not catching it all. And then I pull up PDJ Live at some point, and I turn and tell my wife, oh, Hall and Handley won. Somehow I looked at it wrong, or I think I looked at it right as it was cutting to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like if the timing, you look at the app, and it's not even showing playoff holes yet, because they had
and she's just at the top, yeah.
And she's at the top. Anyway, all I know is then I look back a little bit later, and I'm like, what in the world? And then it's a 3-way playoff. So anybody who didn't get to watch it, it was almost hard to keep track of the last like 4 or 5 holes, what was like actually happening, which makes for exciting golf. Ella Hansen with her second Pro Tour win. And by the way, she has 4 second places going back over the last few years and started touring in 2021. So we probably have not classified her in what we generically call like the elite level, but with 2 Pro Tour wins in back-to-back years in multiple second places. Shame on me for picking her as my drop. I probably won't do that again. I think Ella's continuing to improve, right? More experience on the tour, and so congrats to a big win. This was her first playoff experience, so she's 1 for 1. Again, we'll talk more about that, but congrats to other players. How about Kat Merch with that incredible final round? And it just looked like she was having a great time out there, just throwing the disc, hitting the putts. It'll be exciting to see if she can really kind of ride that momentum. Ella and Kat also earning their Throw Pink qualifier. I know it's not the same as USDGC. And Evelina Salonen leading in C1 reg. Anybody surprised by that? Like,
yes.
You think?
No,
you think?
I'm totally kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, I'm not talking putting.
No, I'm totally kidding.
Not talking putting, talking throwing. And her putting was actually fairly strong, and then just kind of missing a few here and there, and that's that's probably gonna always be a little bit of a narrative. But incredible throwing, got her to the end, almost. Come back. Well, not come back, but I mean, after winning last year, kind of defending her title. Just couldn't get it done on the first playoff hole on 18. Ella Hansen was leading in C2 putting. 39 out of 54.
So that's largely
39 C2 putts.
That's largely what did it for her. I don't have numbers to back this up, but it's a visual thing. If I was to say who has a better forehand, Ella or Holland, I don't know what your answer is, but after that tournament, it was definitely Ella. And you could see the misfires on forehands from Holland multiple times in the last round. Not sure why, but that's what I think really sealed the deal. Coming into some of the last holes, just really, some of those holes require a forehand, Nick. Like, that's the preferred shot, and that was just not working in the last round, it seemed like.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, talk about a perfect, like, Matt, they play hole 18 3 times in a row, and you see them crank the forehand off of the drive. Yeah. So it's almost like you get to compare. It's like form comparison. It's like,
and I'm not saying Holland's forehand isn't good when it's good, but if you watch through, and I'm not even just talking about the last playoff holes, there was definitely shots coming in down the last stretch 9 holes where questioning what is happening. Like, why is she just totally skying a forehand like I would do? There's times that happens. So anyways, that was exciting, Josh. The playoff, I was sitting there going, are you kidding me? For the first event of the year, we're getting a three-way playoff between Ella, Holland, and Evelina, the previous champion of this event. Like, that was awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. Nick, and you were up there. We saw you drive the golf cart, bring him up. Yeah. Like, there's Nick. Woo.
Yeah, it's fun. It was about probably 20 minutes prior when they're on hole 17 that we have a huge staff thread and text messages between all the staff members who, are kind of, let's say paid staff, whatever. And it was pretty much like, hey, more than likely we're going to have a playoff in FPO. Let's kind of get everything set up. At the same time that was going on, one of our patrons over the weekend had passed out, and so we had to get EMS services out there just to make sure that they were all good. So we were trying to coordinate that at the same time of getting everything set up for the playoff, 3-way playoff. So we had 2 UTVs and a golf cart, but the thing is, you're not just playing up the players and the caddies, you're also bringing up the whole media team.
Oh, right.
And so all of a sudden, you've got to cart up all these people. So we had DGPT staff sprinting up the hill, trying to beat us there. And then we also had the players and media people on these, 2-seater flatbed golf carts. And it was pretty fun. All the spectators kind of parting the Red Sea. And it was a cool experience. And definitely throwing on hole 18 kind of on repeat was definitely very unique. I like the decision of it. It's a great spectating hole. So in that regards, it was actually very, very fun. Ella and Holland, and I think Evelina all rode with me the first time up, and then Ella and Holland rode with me the second time up, and it was fun. Just everyone's chatty, having a good time. We were there's one really, really steep, sharp left-hand turn that we have to go, and so I'm telling everyone to lean left, and you can almost kind of feel the golf cart tipping over to the right, and I don't know. It was just fun. It was a good time.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So I know we're about to get to an interview. One other just small tidbit, because I just found this interesting. You can always look at what's the longest logged throw in, right? And so Grady Shue has the longest throw in on hole 8 of 257 feet.
Nice.
Guess who has the longest in FPO? His wife. How cool is
Oh,
that?
wow.
Oh, sick.
163
That is pretty
feet
cool.
on hole 16. So just kind of a random stat, but it's like the Shue family going home with 2 fun throw-ins. That's pretty cool.
She goes back and she's like, "Guess what, honey?" She's like, "I threw in from 100 and whatever feet."
163,
And he's like, "Oh,
yeah.
that's nice,
And then
honey."
she's like, "Oh, bet."
Yeah, I did it from 250 something.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
That's funny.
Josh, if you're ready, I think we
Yeah,
should.
yeah, let's do it.
Let's jump
Let's do
over. We're gonna bring in our first guest of the evening. Everybody, I got a lot of buttons to always press here. Boom, Jake Monn. We're bringing you. Can you hear us, Jake? Can we hear you? I think we can. Go ahead, Jake.
I can't hear.
No, I heard him
I have
earlier.
So
So,
no Jake.
What we're
Monn.
gonna do, Jake, if you can hear us fine, just do a quick reset on that. Just close out the browser and use the link again. You'll be fine. I guarantee it. So we bring in Jake because he was, like I said, the quote pop player. I don't know. Do you guys agree? Is that how you view him? Like, is that where
Yeah.
he normally performs at 6th place? Not normally. Can he? Yes. That was
Well-
a pop performance for sure. Let's see. We're just bringing him back in right now. Give it a try, Jake.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Perfect. So
Yeah.
welcome to the show officially. I know we already did, but now we can hear you and our guests can hear you. So we're bringing you in, dude. You had a great performance. How did you feel about it?
I felt pretty good. I kind of wish I played a little bit better on Sunday. Like I played well rounds 1 and 2, but like Sunday I was just kind of like parring every single until like hole 12. So it was just not the way I wanted to finish it, but I mean I still got top 10, so it was a good weekend overall.
Top 10 is fantastic. I could look up, and you think maybe I would have already had this. Do you have any idea on tour what you average as a finish? Like if you had to say, here's where I probably average most often.
Probably anywhere from like 30 to 40 to 50th.
Okay.
All right. So Matt, you did not prep, but I have it
I have.
exactly.
No, I have it too. So
Okay.
We're
well, I
quick.
have 4. All right. I have 5 years running, which is an interesting
Oh,
stat.
I have 2
Can
years
I, can I run this down really
Yes,
quick?
Go ahead.
All right, Jake, I'm talking Elite Series, and this is interesting because in 5 years, which I know you weren't really on tour in 2021.
No,
But
I played one of the. I played the.
I think it was
MCO
two.
in 21.
I think it was 2 events, maybe if I'm counting majors and elites.
I think it was only MCO in 2021.
Well, you played Ledgestone and MCO. Oh no! You are correct. Thank
Of
you.
course
I am
he
like
is.
not the stat guy.
Come
Okay,
on.
here's the deal. Jake should know his own stats, and secondly, I have to take off my stat Mando hat because I've like failed stats 3 times tonight. So, Jake, I'm failing. But okay, but anyway, since 2022, when you kind of started touring, here's your average. You averaged 55th. In 2023, you averaged 54th.
Yep.
In 2024, you averaged 47. So you continue to get better. And this year, you're averaging 6th.
That's what
Yeah.
I've,
Right. So, but in all seriousness, like Matt, I don't know where you're going. I can give it back to you as well. But like, you've continued to improve year over year. And obviously we're kind of joking about the small sample just for this year, but like, what's your expectations? Obviously as a top pro, you're wanting to push to the top of the leaderboard, but like, what are you expecting for your performance this year?
Yeah, so like you said, I've been like progressing every year, and this year my goal is kind of just to make the Pro Tour Championships finally, because I don't really look at it as average finishes. Mine's kind of like the Pro Tour standing points, and like 2022 is like 80th or something, or barely snuck into a tour card, and then 2023 it was a little bit higher, and then last year was like 50th. So it's been progressively getting better and better. But yeah, I kind of wanted to start off with a nice tournament and then kind of just keep myself in the top 32 all year. It's easier said than done, but that's my goal.
Do you have any well, first of all, you're probably proud of your brother, your younger brother, but like, what are your thoughts on that? He comes off of US AMs, he comes off of Junior Worlds, he comes off of all these big events last year. I come out and I pick him as our pop player of the week, and he performs pretty well. What'd you think of that?
From this past weekend?
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I've been like, we practiced a lot in the off season. I played pretty much every single round with him. And I mean, I'm pretty much expecting him to do pretty well. He's been working a lot on his form in the off season. He practices a lot. You know, he's out there grinding. It's just the one thing I keep thinking about from this weekend is him missing his tee time in round 2.
Oh no.
He missed it by 20 seconds, which is like, he said the night before he read his tee time as 12:35, and then the next morning it was apparently moved up 10 minutes without him being notified.
Wow.
So
that's interesting.
Because like if it was just him, I'd be like, okay, dude, maybe you messed up. But the card after him, Joey Buckets, made it with 5 seconds to spare with the same situation. He read his as 12:45 and he was 12:35.
Ooh, this is interesting. We need to mark this down, but typically they notify you of tee times being posted, right?
Yeah, so they'll notify you of tee times being posted and if there's any changes. And I think it was James Proctor who dropped out because of his elbow.
Right.
They usually notify you if they move tee times up.
Right.
Like they say, hey, some tee times got changed. Make sure you double check. Now, to be fair, you should check your tee time like that morning just to make sure. So
Right.
I'm not saying it's not Ryan's fault because it is mostly his fault, but I mean, like a little bit, like he was only 20 seconds because in my mind, his tee time was 12:25. He was there at 12:20. You know, like he's there at the 5 minutes, so
that is tough. We talked about that last year. We all had our own takes on that, but that's tough. But besides, so what you're saying is in my fantasy league here that we play on staggered stance, I would have gotten more points had that tee time not been shifted. Thank you. Now I feel better about my pick.
Hey, and I know this isn't like all about the detail here, but I first of all, Matt and Jake, my caveat is I keep screwing up stats, so just like discard this if it's wrong. But if Ryan, is that a 2-stroke penalty for Ryan?
Should be.
Yeah. So he would have cashed.
Yep.
And he fell outside cash.
Oh, that did that.
He finished 2 strokes off of cash
on his first event.
Wow.
Which would have been $400 or a little less than $400. So
yeah,
that's a tough 20 seconds.
He did say he like it was through a good tee shot on 18 and then didn't get up and down. So like there's 2 strokes right there too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Again, it's impossible to boil it down to one particular thing, right? Because we know it's a bunch of stuff together, but that stinks. Well, anyway, I mean, we were asking about you, but that's like an interesting.
Whenever it comes to me, we talk about Ryan. It's been a whole running joke from the past week. Started with Simon, dude. Started with Simon.
Well, tell us what about Simon?
I played with Simon in round 2, and you know, like before you play a round, you go up and you say like good luck, and let's have fun. Yeah. Well, Simon came up to me. It was my first time I ever played with Simon, and he looks at me. He goes, "Good luck, Ryan." I said, "What did you just call me?" And he goes, "Oh shoot!" And then he goes back to his bag. He wrote Simon on the score, or he wrote Ryan on the scorecard.
Oh no! That's funny. Well,
glad it didn't get all the way submitted that way. Then we'd really be talking about messed up scores.
Well, so for what it's worth, I mean, the more people get to know you, obviously, the easier it is to get names right. But there's always something about brothers and sisters, or like Valerie and Alexis, and all, like, right, where people are just like, I don't know which one's which yet. But with performances like this, Jake, in all seriousness, like you start coming up on they're like, well, we know Jake. So this is. How would you rate this according to like Des Moines when you was 5th place, right? And this getting 6th place. Do you feel these are similar? Did you feel like this was a bigger achievement? Same? What? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, they're a little bit different because with Des Moines, like I kind of went the opposite way. Like Des Moines, the round 1 was my worst round, and then they got progressively better. And then this weekend, round 1 was my best round, and they got progressively worse. But I mean, worse as in like just score wise, they weren't like awful. But with Des Moines, I got 1 shot on coverage, and then this weekend was pretty much my entire second round, and then I guess some of my third round was on coverage. So I think Des Moines was like I placed higher, I guess, by what, like one
spot.
And this weekend was probably bigger just because of the the amount of coverage I got on.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. We always talk about it. Coverage obviously is important, and usually it's because you're playing well. And then when you get both of those mixing together, you're on coverage, you're playing well, and then you get a win. All of a sudden, you start getting this momentum of fan base. Do you feel that? Do people come up to you? I mean, this is maybe an awkward question to ask because maybe they do or they don't. But do people come up and recognize you yet? Obviously, Simon going Ryan. Like, is your fan base coming together?
There's a little bit more this weekend. You know, there was a
Okay.
little bit like, I got a few people. There was the one funniest one though was when I was coming off at 18 in the last round. I was talking to somebody and somebody was like, yeah, the kid behind you wants your signature. So I turned around to give him an autograph and he looks at me and goes, wait, I don't know you. What's your name?
Mom sent me over here.
It was quite funny.
That's so funny.
But yeah, I hope it's growing.
It
but,
will be. There's no way it's not. I mean, we're nobody's show, and well, maybe I'm downplaying myself, but like we talk about like who should we bring on, and frankly, I'm going, dude, Jake Monn's a guy we should bring on. He had an excellent showing. It's a pop. We call it a pop play here, a pop performance, and I think. Do you feel like we call it pop because you technically overperformed on what you regularly do? Do you feel like you overperformed, or do you feel like that's what you should be doing every week? Is that how you feel?
Yeah, so I feel like that could be the way people look at it is like, oh, this guy who gets what was the number, like 55 average, 47 average.
Yeah, 47,
place.
and yeah, so now you get a 6. That's pretty good.
Yeah, like they're like, yeah, that's an overachieving, but like the way I've been playing recently, the work I've put in this offseason, I feel like this is pretty like I feel like I didn't feel like I played my best this weekend. I feel like I played pretty well, but I feel like I didn't play the best I could have. And like if you look back, I played 2 A tiers and I averaged like 1040 at those. So I just feel like this is kind of my trajectory now.
Good.
Now
I got a question real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Keep going, but I got a question after.
I already forgot what I was going to say.
All right. So speaking of fans, the chat had a good comment, but I want to ask you. So like we call our fans the Staggies, you know, what would your fans be called? Have you thought about this?
Oh, not even a little bit. No, Ryan texted me on my drive home today and he said he came up with a nickname and I told him it was horrible. And he was
so this is what the chat said. Chaser 90K. Your fans are now officially called the Monsters.
Oh.
Yeah. The MONN.
There you go.
That's been a very
Monsters.
Have you heard
The
that before?
Monsters,
Or are you like, no?
Yeah, that's been a common thing with my family. Like my
Okay.
dad used it for something, the Monsters something, and then
Okay.
like when I was like 12 years old, I was really into Dude Perfect, and we made a little trick shot channel called Monster Trick Shots. It's not a thing anymore, so don't go look it up. But
Dude, perfect. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I don't know. What else do we want to know here? There's, I frankly, we could talk for a long time, but
I'm curious as you evaluate. We've talked generally speaking. Like if I look at your stats this weekend, like you putted really well, at least, and so I want to ask, did it feel like you putt well? And then really, here's the thing: is like for you, if you were to say, here's the 1 or 2 things, if I were to just take this thing up 1 notch, then I'd consistently be in the top 10. You obviously have the ability to get in the top 10. So like, is there any particular thing that's holding you back, or is it just like this elusive, like it's just generally hard to get there, or is there a skill you're focused on?
It is generally hard to get there. I would say that, but yeah, right now I'm focusing a lot on my forehand, my overall just forehand game, but like forehand approach shots, because I feel like there's a few times like this weekend I could have saved a stroke here or there if I just executed a forehand. Like I'm predominantly a backhand guy, but I'd throw a couple forehands here and there. But yeah, it's like the forehand approach shots and then just a little bit more consistency with the backhand. Like I noticed like the first few rounds I was getting off the tee pretty clean. Like I wasn't shanking anything. And then the last round, I guess I may have was just getting tired or just, I don't know, but I was just missing lines. So yeah, it's mostly the forehand, but like backhand, a little bit of backhand consistency. But the putting was definitely my strong suit this weekend. I think it was like I made like 1,000 feet of putting or something.
so I'm gonna,
You barely missed.
I'm gonna deafen Nick Carl, which means I can make it so he can't hear what we're talking about. Rate the course. How did it look? He had nothing to do with that. No. How was it? Is it a destination course as people talk about it?
Yeah, so this was my first year actually playing it because last year I broke my thumb before the event.
Oh.
And I love Olympus. I think it's a great course. I was talking about this earlier in the week. I think they did a great because I never played it the throwdown layout, but from what I saw, it was like double digits to a round. That's high round. Obviously, I guess that's what it is now with freaking AB and Ezra. But I feel like they did a really good job of like modernizing the course from what it used to be back in like what you know before Paul bought it, I guess. Before it was a permanent course, when it was like you had to
Yeah.
average double digits around to win, and now it's like 7 downs, a pretty solid round out there. I feel like they did a really good job of modernizing it without making it not fun to play. Like they still made it a really fun course.
What to you makes a course not fun to play? For Simon, it's OB everywhere. Is that the same for you, or do you have other feelings?
Golf courses suck.
Golf courses, okay.
I don't like playing on ball golf courses. Like Olympus does a good job because it's disc. Like you're playing a disc golf course. It's like it does the elevation well. You're still playing in the woods. There's a few things on the course that I would like to see changed.
Yeah, 13. I know it didn't get received as well as I thought it would. 13 didn't.
13 wasn't my favorite.
Yeah,
There's like a few tweaks on 16, but one big thing is that one tree on hole 10 at like Circle's Edge in between MPO and FPO.
yeah, the one little cedar tree.
Yeah, it doesn't need it.
Yeah.
I don't see a point of it at all.
I feel that we funny enough, we did have a lot of discussion about the one little tree on 10 and the thought in disc golf, and I know we're slowly wrapping everything up, so I'll try to make it as quick as possible. But the thought that we have at Olympus is I want people to think about every single shot. So whether it's your drive, your upshot, your putt, or whatever. And so that meaning on your drive on hole 10, I don't want you to just blast a shot and just get up the hill and have the easiest putt in the world, right? Like I want you to either manipulate your disc to go a little bit to the right of that tree or a little bit to the left of that tree after about 330 plus feet of flight. Another area like that is on hole 6 MPO's green. Is I want players, instead of just blasting it into the backside hill, I want them to end short left because that is your most wide open putt. And so it's kind of a mind game. I want players to think about every single shot. I do get it. That one probably will get taken out, or that basket is potentially moving. We actually had a couple different options with that. Like I said, 13 didn't get received as well as I thought it would. That's our bad. We had some people play it and they were like, oh my gosh, this is sick. We love the change. And so we were kind of just like, okay, cool. 16 is a brand new hole. And take this, for instance, is that 16's old hole was really, really fun. Everyone loved it. It's a great hole. It is a great hole. But it was the worst possible hole to have on a course for a Disc Golf Pro Tour tournament because of the spectator access of getting people around, getting people to view it, anything like that. So the hole in and of itself had to change, and we did the best that we could. I will say the vines that were there were supposed to get taken out. I was told they were getting taken out, and then they didn't, and that was the day of official practice day, to where it really gets very, very touchy whether you can change something so drastic. And so that's only going to get cleaned up in the future, and they might actually elevate that tee pad as well to make that hillside a little bit easier.
I didn't mind hole 16. I thought it was a pretty good hole because he did a really good job of making it very similar to the old hole.
Yes,
but with a lot more danger, and you had the ability to have spectators go through.
Yes.
The only thing I would suggest, like the tee pad raised up just a hair, and then maybe that OB line being pushed out a little bit. I know you still need to get spectators through there, but
there's still plenty of room to get spectators in and out, even if we were to push the OB. Funny enough, when I threw the hole a couple times, and I'm very, very low rated now, when I threw the hole, I was like, oh, if I can do this after building a tee pad all day, every top pro is going to have no issue with this shot whatsoever. Funny enough, it did play a lot harder than I thought it would. I actually wanted to tighten up the OB after I pured the shot a couple times. I was like, ooh, maybe I got to make the OB a little tighter. So I'm glad we didn't do that. And I will say it was a lot more difficult for the FPO division than I thought it would be. That's my own fault. That's also something that's going to improve for next year. I thought the inside gap was good enough, and they're going to clear that out more.
I think there's the elevated tee pad would help that out tremendously.
It definitely will help.
Yeah.
But other
Awesome.
than that, I mean, yeah, I know the issues that we had this year, and so
Well-
no course is going to be perfect. Don't get me
And-
wrong; we're never going to please every single person, but I will say a majority of the people that played this past weekend do very, very much enjoy the course, and that's what I'm appreciative of.
I love Olympus. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that place.
Well, Nick's done. Nick made an announcement at the end of the event. He said, "I'm out. Peace." He gave up after all the criticism. No. We'll revisit that later. But in all
we'll
seriousness,
revisit that later.
But in all seriousness, it is an awesome course. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it, Jake. Excellent performance. I really love seeing players that kind of shine in a year where maybe they weren't always shining in the previous year. So it'll be really fun to watch if you can continue that. Obviously you're going to try and you're a great player, but it's fun to watch that storyline build. So we hope that for you. Is there anything you'd like to shout out? Any sponsors or anything? We give that opportunity to everybody, but for you for sure. So go ahead.
Yeah, shout out DGA, Another Round Disc Golf, and Drive Bags. Those are my sponsors for this year.
Awesome.
DGA just dropped some new plastic, the Atmos plastic. Fantastic feeling discs. I think they dropped 6 molds in it. They're amazing. They fly amazing. So check those out. And yeah,
For sure. Awesome. Yeah. And that's the easiest way for people to support you is to buy their disc, or is there a specific disc or product that you have with your for you?
those are coming more like we got our Tour Series discs are coming out fairly soon, so that will probably be the best way
Awesome.
to support me.
We've had people PayPal interviewed guests before on here, so if just you shout your PayPal or Venmo, maybe they'll send you some money. In all seriousness, we had a guest call us one day. The following day, he's like, "Dude, I got like $80 from your listeners."
That's crazy.
So I'm gonna ask you, what is your Venmo? Do you mind?
It's just Jake Monn 123.
There you go, Jake Monn 123. Let's see what
Give me some
happens.
money.
Just give
Jake
me
Monn
money.
123,
Is there a downside to
Yes.
providing your Venmo publicly? I'm not sure, but
I don't know.
yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
either.
I guess we're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. Hey, to the chat.
People
Maybe
request
change
everyone
it.
request money from Jake.
To
How
the
about
chat
that?
right now. This will be
That's
fun. Yeah, request. That's the downside. No, to the chat right now. Actually, we've got a good amount of listeners and viewers in there right now. Jake Monn 123. Send him something. Thank him for coming on the show. And then, hey, if you get a little money in from that, Jake, let us know and we'll thank the listeners live tonight. But it's great having you on. We will catch up with you another time, I'm sure. And if at the very least, we'll say hi when you make it up here to hopefully the playoff event at Maple Hill. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I intend to play that this year.
Awesome. Perfect, dude. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys.
Peace out, man.
Easy.
See ya.
Jake Monn, everybody. I felt bad after. I was like, so tell us about your brother Ryan. He's like, all week. Started with Simon. Oh,
I know, but that is funny. And then we got some interesting insights on shifting tee times and how that can be a challenge for the players. So interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Next up here in just a few minutes, we're going to have a phone call with Ezra Robinson. He's on the road. Nick, you don't have to tell us where he's driving, but he told you he was driving for a while, huh?
He told me he was driving
Texas.
and he'll be at his destination at 9. So
All right.
whatever that means is what it is.
9
gotta be
Central,
Texas.
9 West, like who knows? But
Who
we're going to
knows?
talk to him in a few minutes.
I
We'll
know
give him a
we're going
phone
to
call.
distract him for a little bit with a good phone call.
I honestly think when you're like to the listeners in the chat, I mean, you get a long drive going, you got podcasts, audiobooks, music, radio, play games with someone in the car, like looking for things or whatever. I think a phone call, it just like takes your brain off the driving. And next thing you know, if you talk for an hour, you're like, wow, an hour went by and I'm an hour closer. So we're not going to talk to him for an hour. We'll talk to him for a little while, but we do have him here in just a minute. Going to give him a phone call. We're doing this pretty live. So Josh or whoever, just want to cover for a minute while I get the phone call going.
Yeah, and we may come back to it because if you get them on right away, that's fine. But there were some notables. We're about to talk about those who played well, but notables outside the cash. If for MPO, Ulibarri, Bradley Williams, how about Nicholas Antela not cashing at this event? I don't know. It's interesting. Things happen, so it just could be an outlier for the whole season, or who knows? How Luke Humphreys tied for 9th in round 1 and finished in 54th. Ouch.
Yeah, absolutely.
there's
I
some
think
other
I was
players,
most
too.
surprised, not most, but seeing Nicholas Antela out, I'm like, man, Nicholas Antela is a player that you do see him show up at certain events, and sometimes he's slower at the beginning of the year. But before we get into further analysis on that, we do have on the call live. Ezra, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Welcome to Staggered Stance. We're excited to have you on, dude. Epic win. And like, I don't know if you feel dominant or not about it, but a 6-stroke victory feels pretty dominant. What do you think about this? And tell us how you're feeling.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I knew I had to give it my all out there. And I did not expect AB to shoot the way he shot. He had some unfortunate breaks, but yeah, just to be able to regain all those strokes and more on hole 4. I think he took a triple, I took a birdie, so that's 4 strokes right there. That put me 2 in the lead. And so I was like just trying to focus on maintaining that. And I didn't expect to finish with a 6-stroke lead, so that was just icing on the cake. But yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool to watch, man. There's a few things we're going to follow up on for sure, and I don't know how much time you have, but we can stick around for 10, 15 minutes, whatever you want, or longer. But
yeah, that works for me.
What was it like? I just asked our last interview about his brother, and I don't mean to put the focus there, but what was it like to have that with your brother joining there for the last few holes? Was that supportive? Did you feel awesome about that?
Oh, it was very much supportive. I didn't want him carrying the bag just because I had done it myself all weekend. But the nerves were kicking in around the 13th, 14th hole when I knew that it was such a big possibility of me actually taking down my first win. So being able to just casually chat with him the whole time and just keep all the feelings at bay, all the emotions at bay, and just, talk whatever through with him, and being able to actually have somebody there to talk to and talk about, how bad I am at forehands or, whatever, just random stuff that could take my mind off of the match.
Wow. So I go back to his first at Idlewild, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not the Statmando guy either, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And I remember when he came on, we talked about you a little bit. So we've done this with both, the Robinson brothers. We talk about the other brother, but I remember asking like, who's better? And I think he said at the time, he's like, he was. But then over the years, as we interviewed Isaac, he started saying like, Ezra's scary. Like he's really good. Like Ezra's really good. Last year you really splashed. Like, I feel like on the scene, like it was like, wow, Ezra is really strong competitor. You changed sponsors. You now are Discraft bag. What kind of support do you think there was actually an effect from getting this full support from Discraft going into this season? Do you think that was a part of what happened here?
Yes, from the team manager, Bob, just taking me under his wing and literally texting me throughout the off season, texting me while I was in New Zealand, asking me if I needed anything. Just being very quick to respond, very quick to give me whatever I needed. That super helped. And also being able to hang out with Aaron Gossage down in New Zealand this whole offseason and really learn, his bag, learn what he liked for the shots, what runs he liked to throw. And then I got to Florida, I think on the 21st. And so I was able to stay with the Discraft guys in one house, and we did a bunch of filming, and then we did a couple practice rounds together. So just learn from the team, and the team is amazing. The team is great. They really, Ezra Aderholt gave me a couple discs to try out, and just really, they're all so helpful, all telling me what the good runs are, what I should look for, and just super encouraging. And same with like the team managers and everything. So that's been huge. A really, really supportive team, and that's been a huge game changer for me.
That's awesome. Hey, Ezra, this is Josh. Again, thank you for joining us from the road. So most disc golf media, us and others, our speculation was coming into the year that you were one of the best players to not have a win on tour. But that's no longer you. Congrats. And we saw a whole lot of emotion after the final putt on hole 18. So can you talk to us about that? Like, what did this win mean to you? Was it relief? Was it celebration? Express how it felt right there after you dropped in that final winning putt.
Yeah, it felt, okay. So when I was growing up, like my early teen years, I was watching Paul Macbeth and Ricky Wysocki battle it out for titles and all of that, and I knew I wanted to win something. I wanted to win something, and then the final round, those two people are on my card for the league card, and so all of this emotion, I grew up watching these people. I have been wanting to win since I started playing disc golf, pretty much, or like got competitive in it, and this has always been a goal. And then to do that with those two people, my two like idols in the game, it was unreal. And I've waited so long for it. I've been on the road for roughly 2.5, 3 years. Gotten super close, and so when that putt dropped, I mean, it was just everything just came flooding in. Having Isaac right there, both of us having wins. I know he has 3 more majors than I do, but at least I'm on the board. And it was just like, that's so cool to have two brothers out here who can compete at such a high level. So it was just unreal. I'm still getting over it, or I'm not wanting to get over it, but it's still hitting me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, so again, the fans get to see that emotion, and I would say never hold back on that. It's really awesome to see, right, what it means to these players, and I think that's incredible for you to say you used to watch them. And you're right, the way that card unfolded with AB, you, Macbeth, and Wysocki, even going into the round, I think there was a recognition you've got like the new players and kind of the old guard, and it was really exciting to see as that went down. You talked about being on the board compared to your brother, but for you getting on the board, we've talked about sometimes that is kind of a breakthrough, and for players it picks up some momentum. There's a lot of events ahead this season, but do you feel any sense of like, all right, now that you actually broke through, do you expect more of the same?
I would love to. Yeah, I am very confident moving forward. I'm not saying that I'm gonna, I still don't have my standards set too high, but I know when I'm in the position to win, I can, and that's a huge momentum shifter. That's a huge confidence booster. And I mean, you look at AB from last year. He won the Florida or the Supreme or whatever the chess.com last year, and then went on to win several more that year. So I'm kind of hoping it turns. I turn into that. But yeah, just gonna keep my head down and not. I take a lot of pride in winning, but a lot of times, you can get kind of soft, when you win. Yeah. And so I'm not going to do that. That makes me want to hunker down even more. So I'm going to be putting in a lot of more time and effort. I missed several shots that I should have had last week or this weekend. So I need to fix that. My putt yanked to the right. I need to figure that out. So yeah.
Well, for what it's worth, your close circle of friends who all surrounded you, make sure you rub it in. Like, you've got more wins than Ginn and Burr this year on tour, right? So make sure he knows that. Hey, so as part of moving to Discraft, you kind of launched, I guess, a playful brand, right? Peach Pirate, I think that's what it is. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. So we had somebody on our show last week, Evan, who used to be a regular host. I think going into this weekend, he's like, here's a nice quote or a headline article. He said, Peach Pirate finds gold in Adventure Coast. So I thought you'd like that, like a play on pirate and finding gold. So again, congrats on that. That's pretty fun.
That's I don't know. Awesome. Heck yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So Matt, Ben, Nick, anything to...
Yeah, I'll say something real quick to my boy Ezra. What up, Ezra? This is Ben.
What's up?
I just wanted to congratulate you on your win. You worked really hard. You deserve it. One of my fond memories this year is after the Expo Disc East, me and Gannon were just hanging out, and it was like 2 a.m., and then we FaceTimed you right after your playoff to see if you won, and you didn't. But I bet you're glad that it happened as is, because now you have an Elite Series win.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate that, Ben, and that means a lot. And yeah, I wouldn't trade any of those. I think AB said it this last year. All the losses to this point have been worth it, and I can see where he's coming from. And so I would like to copy that statement for myself as well.
We'll allow it. That's a good statement. I think it's fantastic. So where are you headed now? I'm assuming towards Waco area.
I actually go home for a week.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'll be celebrating with the family tomorrow. And then I'll head down to Waco I'll be there next Tuesday.
Okay, and also, are you traveling by yourself this touring season? Partially by yourself? What's the deal?
Yeah, I am doing Airbnbs with Alden, Gavin, Gannon, and Sully, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
So you get the week off with family. That's excellent. Man, what was you said you missed a few shots, right? You said a few shots, and that's usually a pretty good round or a tournament weekend if you only have a few. But what is your strong part as you see it? The strong part of your game. Obviously you need to be well-rounded to win, but what is your favorite part of your game?
My favorite part of the game is I love hitting gaps. Woods is my favorite place to play in, and just having workable discs. Like I like hyzer flip ups. I like big turnovers that hold the flex lines. And yeah, I don't do a lot of like spike hyzer distance shots. But yeah, I like the shorter game with touchy putters or touchy mids, or fairways.
What is the key in your mind? And this is not like a newbie like disc golf tutorial show. We don't usually do this, but what is the key in your mind to hitting a gap in the woods? Because you throw extremely committed, hard, aggressive, and you're hitting lines. Like, what is the goal to hitting those lines?
Yeah, I think the way my form is, I've had Gannon look it over before, and he said that my form is really built for hitting gaps, because I just line up well, and my pull through is really clean. That's what he says. But yeah, I just line up my hips, line up my shot, and then I can just envision it. I always look down past the gap for something in the gap, not the gap itself, and just send it. Because whenever I try to, take off a little bit, I always kind of let it go early. So that full commitment helps me obviously commit.
That's fantastic. Okay, so I think that's fantastic. Hopefully someone benefits from that. Someone in the chat just asked, and we asked our previous guest, Jake Monn, who took 6th place, what he thought about Olympus. We've got Nick Carl here on the show. He's retiring from Olympus after all the negative comment. No, I'm kidding. But it's your first your first win is going to be at Olympus, and you can't take that away from a Pro Tour win, and it is what it is. But how do you rate the course as a whole? Is it now one of your favorites? Was it one of your favorites? What did you think of the course this week?
Yeah, I think when I played it for the first time last year, it was in my top 15, I think. Now I would put it in my top 5 or 7.
Okay.
I really liked it. Everything is fair. Everything is gettable. Everything is, it's when you're off, and there's a lot of teeth. But when you're hitting gaps, you're not getting a lot of unfortunate rolls or anything. I know hole 4 can be pretty unfortunate. But for the most part, if you're in the fairway, you're sticking in the fairway, which is really cool. And it's just so pretty, and I love the slight elevations and stuff. And yeah, it's the weather's always pretty nice, and it's just in a great spot. And it's a lot of fun shots to throw. I actually really do like the new hole 13, the shortened par 3. I know a lot of people didn't, but I feel like it's so satisfying to hit that turnover backhand. That's what I threw. I didn't hit it very often, but when I did in practice, it was great. Hole 16, I didn't like it at first, but it's growing on me. Still not my favorite, but it is a extremely tough hole, and when you can hit the gap, it's really rewarding. So it's growing on me for sure. But overall, I love the course.
So you got some smirks out of Nick. I don't know if he wants to respond, but you also got a thumbs up when you talked about, I think it was hole 13. So,
well, it was, hey, what's up, Ezra? Congratulations again. I know we've been talking the last few days, but it was awesome to watch live in person the final round. And I'll get to a couple questions in a second, but it was funny because Ezra and Isaac both posted their practice round scores or whatever, and Ezra had birdied hole 13, and I think par or bogeyed 16. And I was like, all right, I had to text him. I was like, all right, talk to me. Give me some feedback, whatever. And he was like, I actually like 13. You just kind of hit a shot hard, air shot, and, gets you to a circle 1, circle 2 look, and then you just got to jam a cool putt. It's a really, really good birdie to get. And then he was like, oh, 16, not really loving it though. And the whole thing with Ezra has been like Malta. And I was like, just rip on a Malta. You'll be fine, whatever. And so anyways, it's cool to see kind of everyone's perspective. I know Ezra is probably in the low minority of people who actually think 13 was a good change. And that's okay. I mean, I think if one more tree got cut down, kind of when we were looking at it afterwards, if one more tree got cut down, I think it would make the hole really, really good. Or if we shorten the basket by about 20 feet. The only thing I didn't like about 13 is a lot of people started throwing rollers on it. And I hated the fact that we created a hole that people want to throw rollers, because I just don't, it's not as satisfying of a shot to me watching that. But anyways, this is Ezra's interview, not mine. So Ezra, bring it over to you. Kind of going throughout the rounds, Discraft League cards, 3 people feature card day 1, and then Discraft League card second day and third day. So you're competing against friends, you're competing against teammates. In our sport, we do call them teammates. But talk to me a little bit about the tournament itself when it comes to, kind of disc selection, shot selection, wind. How were you kind of navigating through the course? And my biggest example is on hole 5, you were normally throwing a pretty stable Onyx, and then in the final round, you went with a nuke. Like, talk to us a little bit about those changes that you do make on the fly during tournaments.
Yeah. So first of all, being able to play with other discraft in a competitive round really helped me see what they're throwing and how I should adjust. And I actually did make an adjustment on hole 5, like you said, for the final round, because I realized I was watching coverage back, and the only reason why I birdied it the first round is because I yanked it so far right, and it got through, and then it had the space to swing back and get up there towards the basket. But I think the second round, I just left it short. I don't think I can actually get the Onyx there if I threw it through the gap. And then remembering that for the last round, I was like, okay, I gotta save up or disc up with a nuke, but it has about the same stability, if not more stable. So I was like, okay, if I punch this around the same place as the Onyx, then it should get there, and it did. So that was a good change. I don't think I made any other changes. I don't really like making changes throughout the round. If something works, then that's the whole reason why you practice, so you don't change stuff during the competition. But that was the only change, and I think it was good. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And then going through the tournament final round in and of itself, Josh, I think I cut you off, but I think
no, go ahead.
At the same time. Okay, cool.
Going.
Well, so going through the final round, when did it kind of get to a point where you're like, all right, I've got this in the bag. AB's on a little bit of a struggle bus right now. Like, when did you feel like, hell yeah, this is mine for the taking? Was it after hole 4, or did you kind of feel it, a few holes after that?
No, after he made that, he threw it in from the bottom of the hill on 9. And I had 3 strokes at that point, and I knew it was anybody's game still. And once he threw it in, I was like, okay, now I'm down to 2 strokes, and we're getting to, the back 9, which is, you can easily take a lot of bogeys. So I never was 100% sure I had it until maybe when he missed his putt on 14 for birdie. And then not until I wasn't even 100% sure until I made the gap on 16, with your nuke, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Nick Carl nuke.
Yeah.
Just to cut him off quick, that final round, Ezra was 3 for 3 birdie wise with the nuke that I had given him a couple weeks prior. So I was pretty stoked to see that.
Well, we appreciate
he took
so
down the
much.
course record.
What was that?
Just giving kudos, taking down the course record in the last round too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Course record.
Great playing.
Dude, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the road. We hope it helped pass the time a little bit. We try.
It did, yeah.
Oh, good. We try to offer this up to our guests now because we know a lot of people are traveling on Mondays. Is that typically your routine? You finish up a tournament and you travel the next day, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we'll try to catch up with you more often. I think you're going to have one of these seasons where we'll be interested in more phone calls. Now I got your number. I'm going to text you every day. Good morning, Ezra. No, I'm kidding. Perfect. We'll stay in touch, dude. Really appreciate it. Safe travels, and we'll catch up again another time.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Congrats
Peace out,
again.
man. Congrats.
All right. Thank you guys. See ya.
Boo-doo-doo. All right. It's been a little while since we've done a live call. I'm not gonna lie, on the back end here, I get always nervous with all the tech. It's patched like 60 different ways. You guys are on a different call calling it. It's crazy, but that worked well, I think. So great to have Ezra on. Josh, you want to run through Pop Drop Lock results before we get to the president of the Disc Golf Pro Tour?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. So just a few things. So everybody go out and play. PopDropLock.com. And do we have loaded up?
I have the points.
Okay, very cool. So we can also reveal those. But for everybody, PopDropLock.com. I'm going to go through just a few things presented by
Hooligan.
Yes, that's where I'm at right now.
Why is my hooligan hat not within reach? Oh, because I wear it all the time. And Ben, you're supposed to be bringing me back one.
Yeah, Garrett's listening. Garrett, bring him on.
I like the white one I got, and I like the black one I got. Like just straight white, straight black. Those ones are awesome. I love those. I wear them all the time. Yeah. The white one needs to be bleached. Okay. So because I wear it so much, I love it. I need like a clean one and a dirty one. Okay. So let's get to it, Josh. Do you want to look at the points first?
Let's reveal our points as players, as hosts on the show.
We always start at the bottom.
Yeah, so let's start at the bottom.
Here we go.
All right.
Starting drum roll at the bottom. Let's guess who it is. Nick. Oops, I'm pulling up his picks. I'm going to also pull up his points.
Have to guess that one.
Okay, I'm pulling up the points now. Minus 27.
He was distracted by, having to actually execute the event on the ground.
We can give him that one. All right.
Honestly, it was your Grady shoe pick that sunk
It's just
you,
one of those weeks. None of my picks worked. On to the next.
Yeah, but that put you. No, it wasn't a blow up because you were fairly even. But Grady's shoe did not help you, Nick. Right? You finished in 456th place
out of 471.
Yeah, you could have been like 385th or something.
You were like at the bottom. But to put this in perspective, I don't know if you know this, Nick, but after round one, Ben was literal last place out of 471.
Yeah, I know. He still beat me.
Yeah, he still beat you. But we're getting to him. We're getting to him right now. Here we go. Let's pull up his points. There are his picks on screen. His points are -1. So he's in the negative as well, Nick.
Yeah.
So, what do you have to say about that, Ben? Anything? Like, were these bad picks or you just got unlucky?
No, everything was good. Cal was a bad pick, unfortunately, but everything else, I feel we're fine picks.
Calvin gave you a -32, so
yeah,
that'll sink your ship.
All right. Up next, I'll pull up Josh's picks so you can see him and be reminded of his picks. And for those audio listeners, you'll just have to remember what he did last week. But Josh, you got 25 points, so you are in the positive by 25.
Yeah, and nothing really that incredible. I made a mistake picking Ella to drop and probably won't do that much again.
I won't do that again.
So, yeah. But anyway, otherwise, just kind of mediocre.
Remember when you said Isaac Robinson wasn't going to be like anybody and he won?
Oh, yeah.
Now you're talking to Ezra Robinson.
I know. It's amazing, that Robinson family. I should have known better.
All right. So, at the top this week, it's always weird when I'm reviewing and it's me because it sounds so, look at me. But yeah, there's my picks. I am happy with Ryan Monn. My points are 53. I guess that puts me in the lead. So Ryan
was the pick that did it for you.
And I don't know if everyone noticed that is playing along because they would have to have checked to notice. But the results are getting updated after each round.
I know.
It's way better. So you're able to go check after the round and see like where you're standing. And I will say, after round 1, I was like 22nd. After round 2, I was 20th. And I'm like, dude, yeah. And then round 3, and Ezra Aderhold kind of came back a little bit. Gannon Burr didn't get me any points. Holland Handley didn't win. That was a 15-point swing for me there. So like, long story short, it's way better. I think that updates after each round, thanks to Shrek for that. Shrek Disc Golf, Dave Shrek. Bunch for getting that setting in there. We also have a few more features coming. We're still going to allow you to favorite players. So that way you can ask your friends what's their username. You can star it, just like you do PDGA Live or anything else. and you'll be able to have your group of friends or whoever you're competing with located in the list easily for you to see. So keep coming back for that. So as it stands right now, the leader of the season-long standings is named, and I want to make sure I get it right here. I'm pretty sure it was Chris. Yes, Chris. I'll leave his last name. But Chris, you're a fantastic. He said in his response today after hearing he won, I'm super thrilled to win for the first event of the year and do the Charleston disc golf community proud. So there you go.
Yeah.
And he says, thanks for all you guys do with the show. It's the best part of my Tuesday commute. And of course, thanks to Hooligan Discs for sponsoring Pop Drop Lock. So shout out Hooligan Discs.
Love it.
That's sick.
They're receiving a gift. Every weekly winner is receiving a prize for Pop Drop Lock from Hooligan Discs. And the season-long winner. So get to it, everybody. There's no way that Chris holds it down every week. Get to it. You're not too late. But I will tell you right now, before I pass this to Josh, for a few stats on this game, my second oldest son, disc golf world champion, he is beating out everybody on our show and me. He got 10th place.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure that's him. Sincere Gar. He killed it.
Wow.
So good job for him. 10th place.
That's pretty good. Chris winning. I mean, he picked Braden Sides, Mason Ford, Ezra Robinson. I mean, so he nailed the win. And then pretty good across the FPO board as well.
Mason Ford was the player, though, that gave a lot of points to people.
For
the drop.
41
and
points
Casey,
in the drop
unfortunately.
category.
Yes, and
So,
unfortunately, Casey. All right, Josh, give us a few stats, then we'll get in Dominic in about 4 minutes or so.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, just as a reminder, as I talk about a few things, again, go out and sign up to play. It's really easy. Probably take you like 2.5 minutes to sign up, and then it depends how much effort you want to put into it. You can literally do your picks in 60 seconds each week, and it's fun to see the score. So this is interesting. So for lock picks this week, Ricky was the most picked by far. Only 21 people picked Ezra to win. And you can say only, or you can say, wow, that's pretty good. So 21 people. But listen to this. 112 people picked combined Gannon Burr and Aaron Gossage, and both of them gave 0 points. So those are your bust picks of the week. So Gannon Burr, Aaron Gossage, a lot of people picked them. 0 points given out. But, Ezra did pretty good. In FPO, you know what's interesting? I just said 21 people picked Ezra to win. 21 people picked Ella to win. I don't know what the odds of that are, but they also nailed it. And the bust picks there are Missy Gannon and Paige Pierce, who were picked by 119 people, both giving away 0 points. And so, kind of a tough place to pick there. It's interesting. 25 different players in MPO were picked to win. So we got pretty wide distribution. But anyway, so in MPO Pop, remember, these are the players that we actually say, like, who's literally going to pop off the most. Guess who the most picked was? Aaron Gossage. I know I said guess and gave you the answer. Aaron Gossage was picked the most to pop off there, and he did okay. He did give out like 9 points, so not too bad in that space. But you mentioned Casey White. People picked him to also pop off, and that hurt, right? Yeah. For them. In FPO Pop, by far and away, like, did we influence this? Because it was Taylor Chosick, D1 athlete, Disc Tay, Instagram. 229 people. Listen, almost 50% of people picked her.
You an athlete? Let's go.
Yeah.
Or they all just saw the same thing that you saw. I mean, it's one of those.
There was not a big downside. She gave 6 points, which means she overperformed. So good for her, right? So it's not just
you guys took the easy pick though. I took Kona Panis, and she got me more points than you guys got with the safe pick. So there you go.
That is true. But people who picked Madison Walker scored really well, and Macy Valadiaz.
Wait, how did I go back on my girl Madison?
15 people picked Madison and earned 17 points. Macy Valadiaz, 18. By the way, we breezed by Taylor, obviously. Incredible skill set. Not joking about that. There was a little bit of comment threads last week on the show. If you listen to the broadcast on Jomez, Nick, I don't know if you heard this, but apparently Taylor threw from the drop zone on 18 and parked it under the basket. That's pretty good, right?
That's insanity, is what that is.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
And I went and double checked the live scoring, and of course, it doesn't tell you exactly, but that's
Yeah.
exactly what it looks like happened. So,
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty incredible from a drop zone to throw it up there, because I'm not sure how far it is, but it's not like an easy drop zone.
It plays over 400.
Yeah.
Well over 400, I would
Yeah,
say.
so that's-
Just to get that height and distance control with it, to actually land it safe too, it's insane.
Wow.
I sure as hell am not doing that.
Yeah, that's incredible. So just to wrap up, so for drop, I find this interesting because it tells us what our listeners are thinking. That's why this is interesting, not because we need numbers. Chris Dickerson was picked. 1 out of 5 people picked Chris to drop. That means 1 out of 5 people listening to our show and playing along thought he may underperform. And guess what?
Dude. He
0
performs.
points.
Yeah, he just performs his consistent
So
self.
he hits his average. So choose wisely if you think he's going to over or underperform. I'm not sure.
He was
And
my season-long drop pick and not doing much for me.
And maybe it's a numbers game and people are always hedging on the drop, right? But Evelina Salonen was picked the most by our listeners to also drop, and she didn't. I mean, technically she did, but barely, right? Marginally. So anyway, we could go through a bunch of other numbers, but I find it interesting as the season rolls on. I think it will be interesting for us to continue to understand, do we actually gain any insights from what our fans, like who they think is going to win and pop and drop? So
We're definitely going to have to
play along.
analyze. We're going to have to analyze more. Even later this show, we're going to analyze more about how the performances went, maybe some shock players, surprises, things like that. We're still going to talk about that, and we'll get to Nick. But right now, man, I'm hearing the sound of something patriotic, maybe in the line of presidential.
Almost very presidential.
We will welcome to the show here, Dominic. So let's go ahead, and this isn't our usual intro music, so I'm thrown off here a little bit, but let's go ahead and welcome to the show, Dominic DeFebo. Is that right? Did I say DeFebo right?
DeFebo.
DeFebo. I was off. I apologize. So I'll get it right
He's
from
muted
here.
on my end.
Mr. President. So welcome to the show, and I'm kind of being funny about it, but we're excited to hear that the Disc Golf Pro Tour now has a president, and that is you. So welcome to the show, man. We want to get into everything. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's been a long day, travel day for
Matt,
me as
he's
well.
muted on my end.
What was that, Nick?
He's muted on my end, at least.
You can't hear him, Nick. Can anybody else hear him? Josh, Ben?
I can.
I hear them, and the chat said they hear them, although they did say it's loud. But
Yeah, well,
Okay.
that's gonna fix itself. I'll take care of that. But Nick saying he can't hear you is a little weird.
Yeah, I don't hear him. Sorry.
That is weird. Nick, drop out and come back in. Everyone else hears
All right.
you live. All the hosts. So, to the president of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So, travel long day. We really do appreciate you taking the time to join us. We did line this up a little while ago, and here it is. It's all come together. So, tell us a little bit, man. We want to know a lot. People don't really know much about you at all. We did see a press release on it. But give us a little bit of, your background and maybe just a little bit of the story of disc golf tying into that, and then kind of how you got to here.
Yeah, sure. Love to. And thanks for having me, guys. It's been a great way to kind of, I would say, get started for the year down at SFO and really kind of on the ground with the team. It was kind of a great way to kind of end my first month on the job. So really fun time down there. So background, I'm a Delaware native, so we'll start there, kind of where I am on the East Coast. So not too far from you all up in Massachusetts, just a bit south. Spent the last 18 years kind of in the financial sector with a couple different firms, most recently with a firm, Brown Advisory. So I was a portfolio manager managing kind of large pools of assets for individuals, endowments, foundations, really looking and investing kind of across the entire capital stack. So, kind of the traditional stuff, traditional stocks and bonds, but also more illiquid type of investments. Think private equity, venture capital, credit, private credit, kind of all of the kind of everything kind of in that realm. And so, by doing so, gave me a really good perspective on kind of many different businesses and how different businesses operated. Ultimately, how capital was raised, how the entire kind of how the whole system works to keep it short. And so kind of through that, and through kind of just a passion for disc golf, was able to kind of get the firm to sponsor the Disc Golf Pro Tour back in 2023. And so if you look back at coverage, you'd have seen Brown Advisory. Thoughtful investing was our tagline, and we had some feather flags on the course, and that really got me involved in the professional space. And so through that, got to really get to know the team a lot, and really kind of saw really an opportunity for my skill set, and the passion that I had for the game, and kind of the vision that I had for what I think really disc golf is and can continue to be. And I think through those relationships with the tour, I think they saw the same thing in me, and was able to kind of work as with an advisory type of role last year with Jeff Spring and the team, and that kind of morphed into kind of this position this year. I will say, disc golf. I started playing disc golf back in kind of the late '90s. My brother was a big disc golfer, and we had a basket in the backyard, kind of all the way back then, and so I played really casually. I never really followed professional disc golf at all. It was just a kind of a casual with my friends. We'd go out and kind of had the same disc for a long period of time, and kind of through college, and then kind of after college, and really it was just a casual thing. And really it wasn't until COVID where I started to, we were all married, we all had kids, we all had just busy lives, and we wanted to just get out and see each other. And when you put a bunch of guys in their late 30s, early 40s together, and there's nothing else to do, you get a little competitive and want to get better. And so through that process, that's kind of really what I discovered professional disc golf. So I would say, 2020, really right at the beginning of COVID. And, through that, it just kind of got hooked on the professional game. And I just saw everything that I knew the new disc golf gave to me. And I saw it at the highest level, and it just made me want to get better as a player. And it just piqued my interest. I was working with all different businesses at the time. And so of course I was like, I want to know how this works. I want to know who's calling the shots. I wanted to just understand everything I possibly could about where the game was going. And so that's kind of where I'm at today, and still play, hopefully, about once a week. Not a big tournament player, but every once in a while I'll get into a tournament, like to go into putting leagues, like to play leagues and things like that. But yeah, it's a game that I think has a really high ceiling.
Do you feel like, this is kind of funny to ask, but hey, it's Staggered Stance. Do you feel like your skills are better suited in your role as a president or as a disc golfer? Where's your better skill set?
I think that's an easy one. It's definitely as a president, I'm definitely not a great disc golfer. I mean, I'm probably like if I had the time to commit to it, I could easily be a 900 rated disc golfer. I played collegiate rugby. I was kind of involved in sports my entire life. I kind of raced hydroplane powerboats most of my life.
Ooh, I see that picture. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that later. Say that again. Hydroplane, what?
Powerboat racing.
Powerboat racing. Wow.
Yeah, and so I did that for I started when I was 10 in the lowest division, and then kind of worked my way up.
Holy cow.
Raced until I was about 34.
Wow.
Once we had our daughter, it was kind of hard to commit the time to, major career and raising a child, and
Yeah.
to do that, you really have to be committed to it. Just like professional disc golf, you have to be playing all the time. And when I was in my prime, I won 17 national championships along the way, and set world records, and kind of was really kind of at the highest level I could be in racing. And it was awesome. It was great. I did it with my dad, he and I and my brothers, and we raced kind of all over the country, drove all over every weekend. We were packed back into the truck, and we were headed to the next race. And so it was something that I see in disc golf, right? And like that community aspect is so similar that I see as the pros are touring around that we had as in boat racing. But the barrier to entry in racing was really high, and so there was never a growth. There was never our ability to really grow the sport of boat racing as much as people tried. It was expensive for the average person to tap into, and so you could, but it was hard, certainly, and there was a danger factor for sure. I mean, it was definitely dangerous. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is a disc golf talk show, but it's good to get to know you a little bit. And whenever I find something interesting like that, I'd like to dial in just a little bit before we get deeper on the disc golf side. You mentioned at 10 years old you started. I really don't have a gauge for how that sport would be for a 10-year-old. Like, you're in a boat piloting, is that right? Or captaining, I don't know what you would call it. Doing it by yourself at 10 years old. What kind of speeds are we talking about?
At that age, like 10 to 15, probably
miles per hour or
miles
knots
per hour.
Okay.
35 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour.
Okay, but that's on the water. That's pretty good. I mean, right? I mean, that's pretty fast. So
absolutely. And then at 16, you're going 60.
Okay, and that's pretty much. Is that like, I don't want to say top level, but does it go up from there? Like, is there higher classes?
This one here, in that picture, that was one of the last national championships I won, and that I was running probably 75 miles per hour in that picture.
National champion of jet boat. What is this again?
Powerboat. Just powerboat.
Is there criteria, or can you just like bring a boat that you made and you just like, I'm racing this thing?
You can.
Oh, you can.
You want to win. You want to win.
It's like Ricky showing up. Josh, we joke about it, right? Ricky showing up with the shopping bag with discs in it, But
yeah, he's done it and he won.
So we've got the whole show here. I'll let everybody up. I just wanted to get that intro in there, and it's good to hear a little bit about your background. But there's a lot of interesting, conversations to be had here. Everything from, you said, you watched other, like even the powerboat racing. Could it grow? Could it not? Would you say disc golf is way bigger than powerboat racing ever was? Would you? Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you just look at the number of courses, right? It's so approachable. The barrier to entry is super low, and it's in most parks, and mostly it's free. And you need one Frisbee if you really just want to go out and I think there's an aspect of disc golf that I think we all inherently know, but we don't talk about it enough, and it's something that I would love for us to talk more about. But it's just the overall kind of mental wellness and health aspect of disc golf, and just by going to play around, I mean, the connection to the outdoors. I mean, there's more and more research coming out every day on how important that is to our health, and so I think it's there's more of that I think we can really kind of lean into. I mean, the sport obviously is awesome. We love the sport part of it, but when you think about the broader reach, I think you can look at it as a bridge to other things. And we all know people that have come into disc golf and it's changed their life, right? They've lost a lot of weight, or they've tapped into a community that they didn't know existed. And I think you could go around the country and you could hear these stories all over. And I think I look at that and that's the stuff that kind of gives me goosebumps, right? Like that's what we all love. We love the sport, we love the competition, but at the end of the day, we love the community aspect of disc golf and what it brings to people.
Yeah, that's cool. So Dominic, it was nice to meet you at the Disc East a little while back. Thanks for coming on this evening. So I want to ask a little bit about the role and what you're focused on, some of which you've already started to touch on, but actually just reflect back a little bit, right? So you've been involved to some extent with the Pro Tour, really, I guess, in an advisory capacity for the last 2 years, I think. I'm curious if you gained any insights during that time period. Obviously, it led you to become the president, but that maybe will shape your approach now that you're the president, meaning your engagement, advising, like, does that shape where you think you want to take it now that you are the president?
Yeah, I mean, I think it did, right? Like, it really came into the role kind of eyes just wide open, right? To everything going on, kind of in with the tour, with the industry, just kind of I'm a fan of disc golf too, right? Like, so I watch you guys, I watch a lot of content. I really try to keep my eye and ear as to what's going on. And so through that and through kind of the conversations that I was having, I certainly kind of understood kind of what was, what the objective was, right? And it's to make sure that we're running a really sound business at the end of the day, right? Like we have to have sound business practices. We have to have really good controls in place. That foundation has to continue to evolve and continue to get better day in and day out. And so that is kind of one of my lead objectives right now, is to really kind of take over the accounting and finance aspect, and really try to kind of refine and kind of build out the processes with our accounting and finance team. On the other side of it is helping kind of with partnerships, right? And it's helping to really, think through how do we tap into, more kind of non-endemic partnerships. How do we use the agencies that we're working with? How do we build, better, a better pitch, right, for our sport? How do we tap into other sports industries, right? How do we actually not just really advertise like our brand in other sports, but advertise disc golf. Like people in other sports, like they can see the competitive nature of what we do and what the professionals are doing on a day in and day out basis on the course. And I think there's a story to be told there. And so I think it's about articulating that story really well to the broader sports industry. And working with them to find best practices and to find kind of solid partnerships, and hopefully kind of expand our reach in kind of the broader sports world. And then just really the overall kind of business administration part of the business. And so thinking through kind of best practices, thinking through business models that really are focused on kind of the core of our business, which is really serving and elevating the player to that at the highest level. It's making sure that we're providing value to our fans, both online and on course, and ultimately to our partners. That's partners that are entrusting us with their capital. That's partners with event teams and local operating committees and communities. We want to ensure that we're continuing to kind of add value for our key stakeholders across the board. And so, how do we do that? What is the right model, and how do we build a scalable business that keeps those core stakeholders at the center of what we do?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. So, business it's business operations and partnership development. I think that's what you said.
Yeah. So, accounting, finance, partnerships, and then kind of the business administration, which is kind of includes marketing, communications, kind of all of those things as well.
So yeah, so with a title like president, so what's not in scope? And that's a genuine question, not sarcastic.
Yeah. I mean, look, Jeff and I work really closely together. We have a great relationship. I think we're able to kind of push and pull on each other a little bit. Obviously, we're one team, right? We don't want to set up any barriers. We want to make sure we're tearing down barriers to get things done. And so, we have frequent communications. We talk almost daily. And so if I'm seeing something that's affecting revenue and it's kind of on the operations side, we're going to have a conversation with it. We're going to kind of tackle it and try to resolve it as quickly as possible. The media side, I don't have a media background. So I'm not going to attempt, I'm going to look at it, with kind of a, with a fan perspective and with a business perspective, and hope that the team is kind of thinking that way as well. But it's also setting culture, right? It's making sure that I was on the ground this weekend and I was working. I was working with the operations team and the media team, and we got a fantastic team. They did a fantastic. It was awesome to work with them all because they did a fantastic job. Kudos to them. Great preparation. Great execution, and really just hard work. It's hard to be out there on the road. I think we oftentimes get to sit home and watch it on the couch, but the people who are on the road grinding day and week in and week out, it's because of them that we're able to have this show, and we're able to talk about professional disc golf. So it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. So those who listen to our show enough know, like, I'm always intrigued about a lot of the business details, etc. However, I want to actually steer this slightly different and just say purely from, like, as fans and players. Okay, so two different constituents. You've got all the fans, which I'm in that bucket, and maybe you're in that bucket.
Sure.
And then you've got the players who obviously are competing and, hopefully making a living. So you come in as president. What do you expect, like, practically speaking, right? If I'm a fan, what might be different based on your leadership on the Pro Tour in future years, or as a player? What kind of impact are you expecting to make that's not just internal to how the business runs?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that the kind of leader that I am, I think, is probably the best way. I mean, the outcomes will be the outcomes. I can't predict what those outcomes will be, but I can tell you that I want to be someone that I'm a leader that wants to listen to each of to each of those, whether it's a player, whether it's an employee. I want them to entrust me with being, someone that can help advise them, that can help listen, to help work through problems, solve problems, execute, and kind of, the more we can do that, the more we can, the better, and at the higher level we can execute, right? That gives everyone the confidence to continue to do their job and do it really well. And when we do that, more things get done. And it's just about doing every job. Like I did almost every, besides holding a camera, I think I was doing just about every job on site. Right. And I actually like that. I actually like, I like to work hard. That's never been kind of a thing for me. When I was, racing was like that. It kind of felt like I was back at a race back in the day, and it was setting up the tents, and it was, loading the trailer and doing all the things that you have to do. But I think it's a culture, it's a mindset, right? And I look at leadership as a mindset, and I think we all, holding people to a really high standard, and making sure that we're giving them the tools and the resources to do their job and to do it well, but to take feedback and to listen and to really help develop people into the roles that they ultimately want. And if I'm doing my job as a leader, I'm creating those opportunities for people, right? And if we're continuing to grow, we're continuing to do things we need to do, those opportunities are there, and we're going to develop, the best on the team. We're going to continue to give them an opportunity to grow. And ultimately, if we're going to be successful, we want to retain the best of the team, and we want to make them leaders within the company. And so, I think I've come into really a great company. I think we need, we're always need to evolve and to change to get to the next level. But that next level is very much focused on just what I said, those key stakeholders. Because without those stakeholders, we don't have a company, right? We have to we are creating the professional sport, and so, we're going to take the criticism. We're going to get better every, day in and day out. We're not going to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but I'm a big believer in you own those mistakes. And that's part of leadership, is to own the mistakes and to get up and to really, to fix it, to hold people accountable. And, that's it. And it should be fun. So I'm all about the fun. I was out there cheering. I was out there high-fiving. Like, this is a fun sport, and we all love it because it's fun, and that's how it should be. So maybe I'll be the biggest cheerleader out there, and I can tell you what, I had goosebumps as the FPO card was coming in, and I can tell you I was in the tent behind the behind the 18th green, and it was, people were just, you could just see it. The tension was high and the excitement was high. And it's like, that's what sports is all about, right? Those are the moments that we live for. Those are the moments that get us up in the morning, and we want to continue to create those moments at the door.
Yeah.
I said to my wife when that moment, especially with the FPO was happening, I said, the DGPT wants this moment. DGN wants this moment. The fans want this moment. I was like, this is a full win for everybody. Obviously, getting more eyes and just excitement surrounding this. You don't want a boring walk it in, nothing exciting. I mean, again, the player loves it maybe, but it's better for everybody. Even the player, I think it's better for. Ella gets a bigger reaction out of this win than she would have if she had maybe walked it in. I don't know, but so interesting to hear some of your perspective there. Maybe you've thought of these things, maybe you haven't. Maybe when you took the role, you fell asleep one night and you started dreaming. You couldn't stop thinking about it. What are you thinking and dreaming could be accomplished with the disc golf tour? Not that you're coming in and just like changing everything, but like, do you have big picture ideas for yourself where you kind of look down and you go, man, I see where we could get? Like what does that look like to you?
Yeah. I how much time do we have?
Well,
before we get there, why it's on my mind, I wanted to give a shout out to Nick and his team down there at Olympus too. You guys, the course looked great, and the whole team that was on the ground there just did an awesome job. So before I forget, I just wanted to say shout out, man. That was all for that.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I think man, this is the kind of part. This is the kind of stuff I like to talk about. So. Forgive me for maybe going off on a tangent here, but
you can give us some bullet points and then we could dig deeper on them. Go ahead, whatever you got.
I think a couple things. So I'll give you a couple things bullet point wise. So I think if it's done right, I think disc golf is one of those sports that is, I think, really just getting going in kind of the broader sports world, right? Like, I think there was moments where disc golf had tried to kind of take off. I think we're at this point where we're building this stage ultimately, right? And so it's how do you tap into this to the bigger sports ecosystem.
How do you do it?
Yeah, so I'm working with some folks. Going to continue to network in with. There's some big, sports networks kind of in the Northeast, in New York City, the New York, Philadelphia area that I'm talking to. I've got a couple meetings next week with some folks. There's some private equity firms out there that, not necessarily for capital, but have really good, that are in the sports world that have really good consulting arms. Those, I think building the network is really, really important. And that's something that, my past job, that was really at the ethos of the firm was really build your network, continue to build it. And so I'm, really, really focused on building the network within sports. I also have, I have family in the professional sports business as well, down in the DC area, that, certainly have some good connections there. I've got some other kind of connections within within the NFL space, that I'm tapping into. And so, it's exposing them to the highest level of disc golf, right? So that's one way.
Can I, before you get to the second way, because I'm thinking of it in this moment, and with my ADHD, I'll forget about it. It's, what's the difference between, and I know the difference in role, but like, what's the difference? Do you see yourself supportive of someone like a Sean Jack, someone who is trying to line up these partnerships and sponsorships and these deals? You're going to also probably try to assist with that. That's kind of what you're talking about through networking. You guys are working collaboratively on that. Obviously, that's not your full role, but that's one way you're seeing right now, getting it to a bigger audience. And I'll let you respond to this. There's a player on the Disc Golf Pro Tour who kind of speaks towards, it seems like the Disc Golf Pro Tour can't land can't land a big deal with like a big name. Why? And so do you have any
initials
perspective?
Are DG. Initials are DG.
Oh, DG. Oh yeah, initials are DG,
saying,
not
anyway,
DGPT,
sorry.
just DG.
No. Anyway.
So, like, what's the kind of a response to that? Do you feel that way? I know you just came in. Do you feel that way? Has the Disc Golf Pro Tour had an issue landing a big deal, or is that something we're going to try to do?
Yeah, we're trying every day,
Okay.
right? Like we're trying every day. I said this if you saw the kind of the press conference, earlier in the week. One of the things that I think is so important and that I've really focused on as I've come in is to really narrow down on stripping away everything else, right? What is our core focus for a Disc Golf Pro Tour, right? It is to put on the best event possible, right? We need to focus on building the biggest and best event possible. Everyone that looks at our sport is going to look at, they're not going to look at the players. They're going to look at footage of big events, right? We need to put on the biggest, most professional events we can possibly put on. That's the stage, right? That's the stage we're building. And ultimately that's the core, and it drives everything else for our business. And again, it kind of building that event with all those stakeholders in mind is kind of the first step in doing that. Because we need eyeballs, right? We need people, and we want, if you're going to land a big brand, right, you have to have reach, and our reach is growing, but at the end of the day, we need bigger events with bigger reach. We're also working a lot, and in order to do that, right, we're working more with local tourism and sports commissions. That's something we're focused on. Jeff and I and the team are really focused on that, and we're partnered with some really good good groups there, and we're going to some conferences kind of focused on that. And that's really getting the buy-in from the sports and from the local communities. Super important, right? Because they're the backbone of those. They have big marketing arms. They have big reach to make introductions to local businesses. And so we're working through them. So that's another channel.
Do you think disc golf, not disc golf, sure, we could say disc golf, but the Disc Golf Pro Tour, more specifically, that's your role, will ever, I don't want to use the word land or whatever, Nikes, Adidas's, Rolex, like you look at pickleball, right? And like they'll get all these big sponsorship deals. Do you see Disc Golf Pro Tour making a big, huge sponsorship at some point in the future?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. I do. I do. And again, you have to put it all into perspective, right? Pickleball went out and just raised a lot of money in private equity money. They raised a bunch of venture capital money. They got a lot of money together. They brought in big money. Big money attracts other big money, and it's easier, right? It's easier to get off the ground. It's easy to film an event. What we need to do is we need to tell our story better, right? We need to tell our story to what we're doing on the media side, right? It's not easy to go to Brooksville, Florida, and broadcast across the world 18 holes of disc golf in the middle of the woods, right? Like that in and of itself is such a feat that I believe is underappreciated quite significantly. That is, and I can't say it enough. I mean, that it is so hard to do, and our teams are working around the clock to make it happen. But yeah, I mean, we have to continue to tell our story, right? We own our narrative. We own what happens, right? And so it's on us to keep focusing on the big picture, and that's what my job is to keep making sure that we have a vision of where we're going. And our vision is to grow. We want to double our audience. We want to triple our audience. We've got big goals. And in order to do that, you have to do these things, right? You have to network. You have to get to know people. You have to bring in advisors. You have to bring in consultants. You have to bring in the people that can help connect us. And when we do that, and we can grow the eyeballs, that helps the players. That creates a better experience for the fans, and ultimately for our sponsors.
So that's obviously one of the bullet points. We don't have all night to do that, but in follow-up, in a different avenue of your role, do you have anybody on the day-to-day directly reporting to you? Like maybe in an org chart you're there, but like are people actually coming to you, Dominic? Like, hey, here's what I'm working on, and you got to follow. Are you managing?
Yeah, I'm managing. Jeff and I are kind of split. So he's kind of doing operations and media, and then I have the other half of the business. So
cool. Partnerships,
accounting, finance, business administration, kind of all falls under me. But again, we all work together. I mean, we're all a team. So yeah. I hate to put too many labels on things and too many barriers. We're all in it for the same reason.
I'm sure Jeff is happy for once that you get to come on the show and not. We love Jeff. We love Jeff, and we always ask him the questions, and it's funny because he's like, thanks guys. Thanks for asking that question. I knew you'd ask that question, but in all seriousness, do you see yourself at all? And this is kind of funny, but in a little bit of a political role. And I say that because disc golf is kind of unique. there's a lot of opinions on. It used to be grow the sport. Then you'll see people say slow the sport because they don't like where it's going. You know, everyone has an opinion. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And so Jeff has always done this, and we love Jeff. Literally, he's a friend of ours, but he's always done this juggling act of his answers. Like, he'll kind of cover all bases, try not to say anything too inflammatory. Let's keep everybody understanding we're moving the ship forward, and we're happy to help facilitate that conversation. Do you see yourself in that little bit of a political, like, dude, I can't just come out and say exactly what I think about this?
I want you to know who I am.
Okay.
Right. I authenticity. If I'm not being authentic, I'm not being myself. And I will tell you that first and foremost. And look, you know, Jeff is as well. I mean, he really is. You know, I think he's had a lot of weight on his shoulders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's handled it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
really, I think, really well, given all the circumstances, right? And so I think I'm coming in with just a little bit of a different personality and a you know, a different background, and hopefully I can complement what he's already built. But I'm a big believer that we as disc golfers need to work together, right? We need to find ways to work with the creator community, to work with sponsors, to work with everybody, right? Like, we really need to come together for the common good of pushing the sport forward. And so, you know, I think it's super important. So if I can help and facilitate some of that, then that's great. And hopefully I can.
I said I just, we have a side chat going with the show, usually letting us know kind of where we're navigating the show. And I said I was done, but sorry, Ben. One last one. I'll put you on the spot then a little bit. It's been seen on the Pro Tour a few times where Nick has nothing to do this, but a fan or a spotter or somebody is finding themselves on the course and they get caught up in the rope or the string or a disc hits them or things of that nature. You're hot. Put your feet to the fire here a little bit. I mean, do you have any role in that? Do you talk to the team now? Is that something I would have imagined Jeff would have used to have done? Did that come up at all after this last weekend's tournament?
Yeah, it did. I mean, you know, and things happen. You know, we're all human, right? And at the end of the day, and you know, we are, you know, we have great volunteers, but even our, you know, as much as we work with our volunteers and try to give them everything they need, people are going to make mistakes, right? And I think we have to recognize that, and that's, you know, that's where we are in the game. We have, you know, 160 golfers out there, and it's a lot of volunteers. You know, we have 2 scorekeepers, I think, on every card. You know, you have spotters on a lot of holes. It's a lot of volunteers. I mean, when you add it all up, it's a lot. And so, you know, you're gonna have those. I mean, I think the tour's done a great job at kind of cleaning that up. We haven't really talked about this in a long time. And so I think, you know, they're doing the best they can to make sure that those things don't happen, but inevitably something's going to happen. And, you know, it was unfortunate for what happened at the event. But yeah, but I am not the person that goes and does it. Our operations team, Evan, who was running point, you know, at this event, you know, he addressed it in kind of the debrief at the end of the day. But ultimately Jeff would be the one that would, you know, when he's on site, to take care of that as well.
Cool. Thanks for answering.
And to kind of piggyback on that, since, you know, I was also on site, is every single day, about 15-20 minutes after MPO final card taps in their putt, we had a debriefing meeting. It could go anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on how much stuff we did have to debrief. One of the things that we did talk about in this meeting was spotters and volunteers in the spotting aspect. So at Olympus, we actually do have a pretty significant amount of OB. A lot of it's property line stuff, but you also have your big shots on, you know, hole 18, 17, 16, for instance, where the incident happened. One of the things that we had talked about, and this is, you know, a worldwide thing. If you're ever running a big tournament, this is how it should be done, where if player 1 on the card throws a shot OB, and let's say it's super early, that spotter does need to run all that way and mark that lie as soon as he possibly can. Because if he waits, looks away, talks to someone really quick, and then goes to mark that flag where it was, he might not exactly remember exactly where that disc did go out of bounds. And that is a huge thing. So it was pretty much like, hey, if a player goes out, try to mark it as quickly as possible. What I think kind of happened on 16 was the first player through went OB early on the right-hand side. Spotter went up to try to go do it. You have about 10 to 20 seconds after that before your next player is going to throw. Unless you get Gannon after, you got a little bit more time. But for the most part, most players, play pretty quickly. You got a little bit of time. I think he was on his way back, just tripped up his footing, and it's one of those things where it happens. It's unfortunate that it did happen. So, yeah, but we do talk about those things in the debriefing meeting. How do we make it better? How do we make a situation like that not happen again? And so, yeah. But it was awesome working with the DGPT on that. It was something we had a text message thread about multiple different things throughout the week. If, water was empty over here, we already had guys on it. If something happened over here, if an OB line got messed up every single night, we're making sure OB lines are tightened. We're making sure that paint is remarked just in case it got kind of stomped on throughout the week. So there's a lot that goes into it. And, the biggest shout out does go to I don't even know how many volunteers that did come out and make such a fun, successful tournament happen. The biggest shout out 100% goes to them.
Cool. Ben, I cut you off earlier. What'd you got?
Yeah, I have a question. Dominic, I've known you. I think we met at Worlds at Smugglers on Notch, and we actually started talking a good bit actually, which is pretty cool. So it's really cool to see you in this role. I remember you showing up to the expo. I was like, oh, like I know you. That's so cool that you're president now. But so from that, I'm just curious, just me personally as like a business nerd, what was like the timeline of you becoming president? Like how did that happen? Were you telling Jeff like, this is what I think should happen, and Jeff was like, oh, you have really good ideas, or like kind of what was that process like for you to get to the point you are at now?
Yeah. I mean, we talked for probably a good year and a half, and about a year, I guess, before really it materialized. And we talked every 2 weeks, so we had kind of a standing call, and so we would kind of get on the call and kind of Jeff would just run through what he was working on kind of in the moment. And we would kind of talk through different ways and different approaches to kind of accomplish whatever the goal was that he was trying to work on. And so we'd kind of go through all those things, and, I'd provide some perspective, some added perspective or some new ideas or new way of approaching a particular topic. And that was, working with individuals, that was working with the board, that was, it was, a new way of maybe raising money. It was a new way of kind of, just all different ways, we're making connections. Certainly there were some connections that I, was able to make kind of beforehand. So it was about a year. It was about, I would say, a year where we were kind of discussing something potentially with the tour.
Cool.
And by the way, congrats on the second expo.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. You were at the Disc East, so and Jeff, so I can vouch. The DGPT's out there in the community trying to make it happen. So I appreciate you guys coming out.
Absolutely. You'll see me around there. You'll see me around again. You'll be there next year. Don't worry.
Are you trying to hit most of the events, Dominic, like on the ground this year?
I wouldn't say I'm going to hit all the events. I want to make sure that I'm strategic about the events I'm going to, and making sure that there's a real purpose for me to be there, right? And whether that's to to work on kind of building the network within disc golf. I think Jeff was on the road at the early days, and so he got to meet a lot of people and was had a really a long history of disc golf. I'm coming in really trying to meet people and them to get to know me and how I think and how I operate. And so, I'd like to get to, quite a few events, but certainly not all events, just be too much.
Cool. Well, as you know, and we always know, we could talk disc golf forever. That is a thing. But at this point, we've already been going 2 hours. We're going to have to bring you back on another time. And I know you'll be busy, but we'll do it. We'll bring you back on when things get exciting again. Is there anything you wanted to shout out before we let you go? Like you were like, dude, I really want to just let everybody know this one thing or whatever.
Yeah,
cool.
I'll shout out a couple of things. I had a couple of things ready to go. So we do have a non-endemic partnership announcing tomorrow, so that's a little something to look for. So look for the announcements.
What does it rhyme with?
Spiky.
Benny.
Okay, that's
Benny
a
and the Jets.
good little clue there. Chat,
and
take it away.
Partnering with the Pro Tour. It's
Yep,
official.
it's Ben.
It's revealed.
Chat, take it away. Give us the answer. All right, cool.
And then also the match play. So match play, we have our final event for match play, which is going to be GMC.
Awesome.
So that'll be the final. That'll be the final final match play of the year for the regular season match play. So we'll have the 4 events, which I think Jeff maybe announced the last time he was on. So it's MCO, Crocal, Idlewild, and and GMC.
Very
I
cool.
believe I have that right. And so more to come there. You should also see an announcement within the next week on the match play.
Very cool.
Sick.
Awesome.
Yeah,
we love
absolutely.
match play. It's exciting to watch. So thanks so much for your time and bringing that information. That's something good now that we get to speculate about. Our listeners enjoy hearing this as well. We had someone even in the chat tonight say, hey, sometimes I like hearing from the non-disc golfer, like you're not the pro player. So we always have a whole spectrum of people listening, and I know a lot of them really appreciated you coming on tonight, as did we. We'll definitely follow up with you again now that we've got your contact and you have people who help line these up for you. I know. But we'll still reach out.
You can talk to me too.
Yeah.
You can help me. You can reach out to me.
Perfect.
Obviously we have a great team, but feel free to reach out anytime.
Perfect.
Always happy to jump on.
All right, we'll do that. I'll throw you in my contacts.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boom. So that was fun. The chat kind of early on was like, is this political? Like, it sounds like a political, I don't know if it was a debate, but then someone's like, State of the Union, like they're trying to figure out.
It was that bad.
No, and I don't know if they even meant bad. It had, and this was someone's response. Like, I kind of like sometimes hearing from the non-pro player disc golfer.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I want to hear more of that. So we know we have a large audience. We got all the full, spectrum of people tonight as guests. And again, next week we'll get Ella on. I think we're even going to have Jay or Des Redding talking about edge disc golf a little bit.
Yep.
And we might even have something else. It's not an off week, but it kind of is an off week. So we'll do pop, drop, lock, and all that.
And Jake Monn got $20.
He did.
Ah, nice.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
He's like, bro, I made
Shout out all the
$20 for coming
monsters out
on.
there.
Yeah, $20 for coming on the show. What do you
Nice.
know? That last time that happened with Philo, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, so I know we're almost done, but there's just a few quick things. So, Macbeth didn't get a win last year, and then he was on the hunt. So, Nick,
This
any
is a good
insights
sign.
from any insights from your perspective? You said he's going to have a big year.
Yeah.
You were there. I'm not sure if you talked with him at all, but just wanted to acknowledge. I think he came in third, right? He finished in third.
Yes. Yeah. Podium finish.
So, yeah, I don't know. Any insights on the ground from seeing Paul play? Is he good this year?
Quick little insights. His putting looks phenomenal right now. I think Circle 2 and Circle 1 putting looks great. I think getting out and actually playing courses every single day, like Pro Tour courses, right? Like practicing for Pro Tour events. He's only going to keep learning the discs that he has in his bag, right? After, kind of a long off season. But no, I think putting looks great. There were a lot of throws that final round that were really reminiscent of, old powerful Paul, really confident on the pull through. Forehand shots, obviously he screwed up his first one on hole 1, his first 2 shots pretty much on hole 1, and then he had a little bit of a screw up on hole 4. I think that's, realistically, I was walking around with Bob and Mike, who are 2 head guys over at Discraft, and then Nate Heinold every so often. And I was talking to Bob and Mike, and I said, it actually looks like he's nervous, which is kind of a good thing, because you think he's got those nerves back in him. He's got that adrenaline pumping back in him, which, pro players have always said, if you don't have those nerves, why are you here?
He beat Ricky.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It is
It's
weird
not easy
seeing.
to do.
It is weird seeing, especially the 4 of them with Team
How about that
Ricky
final day
and-
card?
Yeah, it was awesome. 2 OGs on Discraft and then 2 new
AB, Ezra.
signings. Yeah.
Paul, Ricky. Hey, can you imagine going double bogey, bogey and then throwing a 7 down, Nick?
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and that's where Olympus really, really does test you. I mean, if you don't throw a good shot on hole 1, the green is very scary. He threw what I would say was a bad shot on hole 2, his third shot going up to the basket. I don't know if he was trying to run it or if he was trying to lay it up, but if he was trying to lay it up, it obviously didn't work out too well. But no, other than that, he played well. There were a lot of really, really good shots from all of them. It was a super fun card to watch. It's just very, and I told Ricky this when we had a bunch of the packages for the Team Discraft players, their apparel, and I walked up to him and I said, it feels really, really weird giving you this package of a Team Discraft item, and he just started laughing, and we had a good, quick little conversation, but that was cool. Really, really good vibes on the card the whole time. I know Anthony struggled a little bit on a couple holes, and so he was probably the quietest one on the card, but he was still amped up. He hit a huge putt on hole 15 that, he had a really, really big fist bump. He knows he was still right there in it.
Yeah.
But Ezra just played silky smooth the whole time, man. It was fun to
Ezra
watch.
never, he had his foot on the pedal the entire round, and so all it took was maybe just a slip up, and then it was just, he already had momentum running away with it. But hey, Kevin, random topics before we wrap. Kevin Jones finished in 80th place. That used to be a name we were picking the top 10. Anybody concerned? Yeah.
No, because it's the same old as in last year.
All right.
Yeah,
all
as
right.
last
but
year.
80th is
I was
pretty far
concerned
down, so.
last year.
All right, but when did he switch to Innova?
Last year.
Right. So I thought
Middle
there
last year,
might have been
Middle.
some thought
It
that
was
maybe
kind of
something
weird.
could turn around.
Yeah.
Guess we'll see. One event's not enough. Macy Bella Diaz, big return.
Awesome.
Was Macy
Yeah,
my
how about-
season pop? I don't know if you remember that. I think that might have been my
I'd have to look
season
back at the
pop.
notes. I don't
Yeah.
have them, but
That-
but I mean, yeah, kudos to her after taking some time off and growing her family, and then coming out and playing really well. And looks like she could have a good season. That's awesome. Any other, before we wrap up, any other big surprises from anybody? And I'm fine if the answer is no. Ben, Nick, Matt, is anything wow, I did not see that coming? I didn't see much of that. There are surprises, and we talked about everybody picked Gannon to be on the podium. He wasn't.
Oh,
There were
I did
people
hear
missing cash. I mean, there were things happening in FPO and MPO, but nothing was I wasn't blown away by anything this weekend.
Well, I had heard that Gannon either posted somewhere or said it in a video, or maybe he was just talking to some pros, but he said, I'm not going to miss a top 10 all year this year. And it was just kind of funny that we broke him at the first event. And I love Gannon. I talked to him a bunch throughout the week. And so don't get me wrong. But
he posted something about his body didn't feel right. So we'll have to probe him and ask what's going on. He said unexpected things happen before or during the tournament to my body. I don't know what that means.
Well, I asked, he's out having fun. I can see the social media posts from Matt Schlabach, and they're out drive range golfing and jumping in pools. And I'm seeing, Gannon do front flips into the pools and then hit golf balls. I don't know. That's to your point, Josh. I don't know what that post was about.
It literally could be you ate something wrong and stayed up too late.
True.
Yeah.
Unfortunate things happen to my
feels
body. True.
I don't know. Anyway, but probably not worried the way he worded that.
Overthrows comments. Sorry, you got to be live on the show. I don't know if I
go back and read that.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So anyway, nothing totally blowing me away up or down the leaderboard, but really exciting to have that
honest to
event back
goodness,
out
a stacked final card of all Team Discraft players in the MPO division was it was pretty awesome to see. Obviously, I'm a Discraft guy myself. I spent a lot of time at their booth this past weekend. And but seeing that, where you're just kind of looking at each other, and we're like, we might see a lot of these this year, and so it was cool.
Yeah, definitely. So that's awesome. So Nick, you did announce on social media, and we have people asking in the chat. So so you're transitioning back to the Northeast, so leaving Florida, but obviously more notably leaving your job at Olympus. I think you're leaving it in some good hands. But you're gonna miss that place.
I am. It's the hardest thing about it, it's funny. I don't want to go into a super tangent with it, but one of the huge selling points to me moving down there was to be a part of something bigger than just the everyday disc golf. It was to help facilitate and not run a Pro Tour event, but help be someone on staff to, help run a Pro Tour event, right? I don't really know how to say it differently, but help be a part of a Pro Tour event. That was a huge selling point to me. So for you guys have all ran massive events. You know what it's like, the stresses that come on during it, the stresses that come on before it, the major stresses that happen during it, and then just the major come down feeling afterwards. It's kind of a very weird mix of emotions in those last final days, weeks, leading up to the event, then during, and then after the event, obviously. So to be able to, say that I've helped facilitate and be a part of 2 different Pro Tour events this year, fortunately, Mother Nature really sided with us throughout the last 2 months, and it made this event just that much smoother to run. The Ledgestone team, the DGPT team, Olympus is our own small little team. It was just such a fun experience. Really emotional. I can't think of another word besides emotional. We had lifetime members of ours volunteering all of their time leading up to the event, volunteering at the event. I mean, Brian and Grayson were 2 of my main people where if I had something come up, I could call Brian every single time and say, hey, can you get this done for me? And he was right on it, without any questions asked. And so when you have a group of people like that and you put together something so fun, like I said, I spent a lot of time at the Discraft booth and I was watching the DGN coverage. I spent a lot of time out in the course watching it in person. I had no hiccups with anything. We also had a massive Jumbotron there this year underneath or right next to the chess.com tent. And so we were able, people were able to just hang out, play chess and watch the DGN coverage right there in Vendor Village. And, long story short, there were so many cool things that happened. I literally can't put it all into words, but kind of going back to the beginning, that was the main reason that I wanted to move down to Florida, was to be a part of that. The rest of the year was just an added bonus of beautiful weather, beautiful people, and, help facilitating and running a disc golf course and managing a property, seeing all the ins and outs that go in with that. But I've technically speaking, I've been away from Massachusetts for about 4 years now. I used to work a pretty unique job in the drilling and blasting industry. And I was pretty good at it back when I was doing it. So the old company that I used to work for periodically has kind of, hit me up asking if I'd like to come back. And it always turned into, if you can offer a little bit more and more and more and more. And we finally hit an agreement point where I knew they weren't going to go any higher. And I knew I'd, selfishly kind of milked them for a little bit higher of a pay raise than probably deserved. But, no, it'll bring me back.
Sounds like a pro disc golfer. I'm tempted to ask you. I'm like, can you tell us the deals of the contract?
Yeah, no, deals of the contract. It's well over $35 an hour. Weekends off.
Woo! Weekends off, baby.
Yeah, weekends off is a huge thing. Monday through Friday work. Overtime, obviously, if I can get some overtime, it's great. If I get more of my licenses, I want to get my blasting license, my hoisting license back. I want to get all those things, and that only increases my, dollars per hour, hourly rate, whatever you call it. And so I'm excited. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, my community's in the Northeast, man. I grew up there. I'm 30 years old now. I'm kind of thinking long term in my future. I'd love to have kids one day, and so I just got to think of what's best for me in my personal life. And as much as disc golf is such a really, really fun job and really, really cool thing to be a part of, I do need to think about what is realistically going to help me in my own kind of personal endeavors. I still have a lot of things that I want to do in my own personal life. And I've been away from my mom and dad for 4 years now. And not that I need to be living with them my whole life, but I do very, very much miss my parents. I miss my sister and brother-in-law and my brother and sister-in-law who are pretty much all in Massachusetts. My brother will probably be moving back there in the next couple of years. So 99% of my family all lives in the Northeast, the New England area. Obviously it's where I learned how to play disc golf. My cousins, all my cousins, James, Jimmy, and I learned how to play disc golf in Massachusetts. Obviously, Matt's the one who brought me into the sport, and it's kind of wild that, this many years later, this is what we're doing. But we'll kind of see. And then whatever the future holds, I've always considered myself a pretty nomadic person. When someone presents to me the right opportunity that I feel like is beneficial or something that I'd want to do, I really have no issue dropping everything that I'm doing and going out and pursuing it. So I've been able to pursue disc golf as a player at a very, very low standard of it. But I've been able to kind of rely on tournament entries for a living in my life. I've been able to work in the disc golf industry. I've been able to kind of be a part of the business side in a couple different ventures, mainly Olympus. And I'm excited to move back home and kind of get to the reason why I even got into disc golf, and that was to compete and try to beat other people at the sport. Personally, there's no better feeling in disc golf than holding up a trophy at the end of the day and I'd like to get a few more A tier, B tier, and C tier wins throughout my life. So it's gonna get back to the grind of playing. I'm never gonna try to go touring. That's not my goal whatsoever. I just want to be a weekend warrior, and not gonna lie, I want to see my family and a lot of my close personal friends who I've been missing for the last 5 years of my life, 4 or 5 years.
Well,
But-
you're only gonna be 2 turns for me in 8 minutes. That's where you are from me, so that'll be pretty
Yep.
close.
Yeah.
We back at
I'm
it.
excited about it. And so realistically, also really quick, I just want to note to this, a bunch of people in the chat earlier were asking if I was hella sunburned. My camera gets very, very red when I jump on the show, and for some odd reason it doesn't adjust. But I've also had a little bit of a face problem. I'm just going to be brutally honest about it. I have very, very sensitive skin underneath my eyes. And when I wear safety glasses or sunglasses, it's very irritating towards it. So if you see me kind of have a little bit of a breakout underneath my eye, that's the main reason. So
It doesn't
I'm gonna be
help.
dealing-
It doesn't help to cry a lot last night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of tears made my face also red. So I'm in the process of packing everything up and headed home soon. So I got a lot of exciting things going on, but just wanted to say thank you everybody for tuning in on this awesome Monday night. Sorry I was a few minutes late to the show. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Shout out to Ezra and Ella for winning this year's Supreme Flight Open. It was really, really cool to be a part of it. Please go check out supremeflight.com, but also go check out titandiscgolf.com and also Hooligan Discs for being major sponsors of the show this year. As always, tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Absolutely. Appreciate titandiscgolf.com presenting Staggered Stance. Nick, it'll be great to have you back. Ben, on to, I guess, bigger and better. You're going to be married soon. Not by the next episode, but that's next up for Ben. Josh and I will just keep the grind going. We don't have anything too new going on, but good to see everybody. Chat. Dude, we love the chat. We love the people who stoke the fire. We love the people who give us all the love. It's all awesome. We'll keep doing this. The season has just begun. So, catch you guys out there. Till next time, peace out, everybody.
Peace.
See you later.